Chapter 1. The Emergence of the Old Monster? No, it is the Golden Finger. Your Qingming Lion technique has been cultivated for less than 10 years and remains at the initial stage, yet it has broken through to the great perfection. Your Qingfeng 13 swords have been cultivated for less than 10 years and still linger at the mid-stage, yet they have reached the great perfection. Your Luyan body technique has been practiced for less than 10 years and is still at the mid-stage, yet it has advanced to the great perfection. In the ethereal realm of the Baiyun sect, Su Bai, seated in meditation, suddenly opened his eyes. Within his mind, he heard a chilling mechanical voice. First, he ruled out the possibility of having fallen into demonic cultivation. Then he began to sense carefully. It appeared that, as the mechanical voice had stated, the techniques he had painstakingly cultivated for 20 years had indeed all broken through to the great perfection. An inexplicable surge of the phrase golden finger welled up within him. Regardless of the circumstances, he could hardly fathom that after accidentally traversing into this world with a lowly yellow-tier talent and joining the Baiyun sect, 20 years of cultivation would culminate in the awakening of a golden finger at this moment. From his extensive reading experience, he understood that such a phenomenon often heralded an impending ascension to heights previously unimaginable. With this thought in mind, Su Bai silently chanted and promptly summoned his personal panel for inspection. Host Su Bai. Bone structure, 68. Body technique, 61. Spirit, 65. Mastered techniques. Qingming Lion technique, great perfection. Qingfeng 13 swords, great perfection. Luyan body technique, great perfection. The straightforward information before him sent his heart racing. His gaze fixated on the three characters great perfection. Achieving the great perfection in all techniques. This is an accomplishment that countless cultivators yearn to attain. Filled with joy, Su Bai could not resist circulating the Qingming Lion technique. In accordance with the description of the golden finger, he was eager to try it out. As he activated the Qingming Lion technique, the surrounding spiritual energy seemed to be restrained by an invisible hand, rapidly converging towards him. In the realm of great perfection, Su Bai could distinctly feel that the speed at which he absorbed spiritual energy had increased at least threefold. The previously sluggish absorption rate now flowed as smoothly as if he had unblocked the meridians. Countless colorful, glass-like energies converged, with the range continuously expanding. The spiritual energy within 100 meters of Daotian Peak seemed to surge inwards, as if being drawn into his body. Under the influx of immense spiritual energy, the originally stable initial stage of the yin-yang realm began to tremble slightly, as if on the verge of breaking through. Amidst his astonishment, Su Bai hastily steadied his mind. He was acutely aware that this was not the time to be distracted with the assistance of the great perfection Qingming Lion technique. He needed to utilize it effectively. The swirling energies rapidly formed a cyclone around him, and the range continued to expand. Su Bai focused his mind, silently chanting the technique, guiding the spiritual energy to circulate within him for dozens of cycles. Buzz! In less than half an hour, a faint golden light surged from within him. The barrier that had previously required years to break through was shattered in this brief moment. Had he even dared to imagine this before? This is the benefit brought by the golden finger. Feeling the abundant power within him, he felt as if he were in a dream, everything appearing like an illusion. Looking up, the spiritual energy in the room had reached an astonishing density. Su Bai, not daring to be negligent, continued circulating his heart's method. As the density of spiritual energy in the room continually increased, golden droplets of rain began to fall, evidently reaching the legendary level of spiritual energy liquefaction. The absorption speed at the mid-stage of the yin-yang realm was incredibly swift soon. Su Bai felt his body brimming with energy, and his mind became exceptionally clear. The great perfection Qingming Lion technique is indeed astonishing. It can condense spiritual energy to the level of liquefaction. Realizing he had reached his limit, he exhaled the stagnant air and opened his eyes, instantly captivated by the spiritual liquid on the ground, unable to suppress his exclamation. As the saying goes, haste makes waste, and Su Bai understood this principle well, which is why he chose to halt once the spiritual energy within him reached its peak. Slowly rising, he stepped out of the loft, a gentle breeze brushing against his face, lifting his bangs. Gazing at the Bayun sect, which resembled a celestial realm, he still felt a sense of unreality. Let's give the Qingfeng 13 swords a try. Understanding that this was not merely a fleeting dream, Su Bai spoke to himself. It is important to note that the benefits of the golden finger extend beyond just the Qingming lion technique. Swish! The Qingfeng sword was drawn, a flash of cold light sweeping across the heavens and earth. The overwhelming sword intent continuously condensed, leaving traces on the ground as the ethereal sword energy carved its path. With the technique in motion, the spiritual energy kept converging. Buzz! A blade of pure white, stretching 100 feet, soared into the sky, suspended above the Bayun sect's rear mountain, as if it had gathered the laws of heaven and earth, causing the entire Datian peak to tremble, only to vanish in an instant. Yet, this sudden tremor acted like a sharp blade that tugged at the hearts of others, enough to attract attention. Within the grand hall of the sect, an elder with an ethereal demeanor and graying beard abruptly opened his eyes. Elders, did you feel that? His gaze was piercing, staring in the direction of Daotian Peak, incredulity etched upon his face. The gathered elders below wore expressions of astonishment. Just moments ago, they had sensed an unparalleled sword intent though fleeting. It was enough to instill fear in their hearts. Who could this be? A seasoned old monster steeped in the sword path, to possess such terrifying sword intent. When did our sect give rise to such a figure? Could this be a portent of the Bayun sect's rise? The elders chattered excitedly, unable to contain their discussions. Yet, the sect master fell silent, unable to help himself. He was acutely aware that given the current strength of the Bayun sect, it was utterly impossible for a sword saint to emerge. So amidst his shock, he contemplated who could be responsible. Within Daotian Peak, the astounding sword intent had genuinely startled Su Bai. With the enhancement of the golden finger, the Qingfeng 13 swords had achieved the realm of unity between man and sword. It is known that this is a feat that even most sword masters cannot accomplish. Incredible! In less than an hour, he had experienced such tremendous growth, the sense of unreality growing ever more pronounced, leaving Su Bai with an expression of astonishment. Previously, his cultivation of the Qingfeng 13 swords had only allowed him to cleave through boulders, which was already a small achievement. Recalling the sword intent from earlier, he was grateful that he had not unleashed his full strength otherwise. Even this mountain might not have been able to withstand it. Seizing the moment, Su Bai unhesitatingly chose to demonstrate the Luyan body technique. In an instant, thousands of clouds and mists converged, enveloping him like a gossamer garment. With just one step, he was already 100 meters away, and this was without fully exerting himself. If anyone were to witness the cloud-like figure of Su Bai, floating as if an immortal descended from the heavens, they would surely proclaim him a celestial being untainted by the mundane world. 100 meters in a single step, and my form is elusive how terrifying. In comparison, the previous Luyan body technique seemed merely a bit quicker. Feeling the lightness of his form, Su Bai could not help but exclaim. Such a degree of enhancement could no longer be described as terrifying. At this rate, should he enter seclusion for 100 years? Su Bai felt a burgeoning anticipation within. With the loosening of his realm, he intended to break through from the Yinyang realm directly to the Yuanhai realm at that time. It would likely be difficult for anyone across the continent to rival him. With this thought, he turned and stepped forward without hesitation. As the clouds gathered, his figure vanished in an instant. The windows and doors of the loft sealed, and Su Bai embarked on his century-long retreat. Almost at the very moment he chose to enter seclusion, countless wisps of ethereal energy converged, as if the spiritual energy were being guided, continuously accumulating within Daotian Peak. What Su Bai did not know was that while he meditated in silence, a faint golden light surged from within him. The golden finger gradually activated, and the spiritual energy of the entire Bayun sect began to diminish. Meanwhile, in the courtyard of the loft where he resided, the gathered spiritual energy instantaneously transformed into liquid, absorbing at an astonishing rate, flooding into his body. Chapter 2. Significant Enhancement Provocation. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. The Bayun sect appeared unchanged. However, upon closer inspection, the overall density of spiritual energy within the sect had markedly diminished compared to before. In contrast, the spiritual energy concentration at Daotian Peak had reached a staggering level. Raindrops of spiritual energy soaked the mountaintop, and the abundant energy radiated outward like a mysterious veil, enveloping the loft where Su Bai resided. Since the concentration of spiritual energy increased here, numerous disciples had surreptitiously come to cultivate, and their progress surpassed that of the outside world by threefold. Buzz! As was customary at Daotian Peak, a faint golden light soared into the sky this day, only to vanish in an instant. Within the loft, Su Bai slowly opened his eyes, and what met his gaze was a room nearly filled with droplets of spiritual energy. With each breath, a lion's roar resonated throughout. The great perfection Qingming lion technique is truly terrifying. In just 10 years, I have advanced from the Yin-Yang realm to the great perfection of the Yuanhai realm. It is simply unbelievable. The abundance of power within him caused joy to shine in his eyes. It is worth noting that in this world, those who could break through to the Yuanhai realm with a yellow tier talent are exceedingly rare. Even if someone truly achieved it, they would have to expend half a lifetime's effort. With the aid of his extraordinary abilities, Su Bai has accomplished nearly 3 decades of cultivation, establishing himself as a formidable pillar within his sect. He stands on the precipice of entering the Four Symbols realm, thereby qualifying to establish his own sect. Such an astonishing advancement is enough to leave him in a state of euphoric exhilaration. Personal panel. Filled with excitement, Su Bai silently recites in his mind. Host, Su Bai. Realm. Yuanhai realm, great perfection. Physique, 76. Agility, 72. Soul, 79. Mastered techniques. Qingming lion technique mastery. Qingfeng 13 swords mastery. Lian body technique mastery. After a year of seclusion, his attributes have significantly improved, and perhaps due to the breakthrough, the systems panel has become more detailed. Most notably, the 3 major techniques have all reached a level of mastery, suggesting that Su Bai's understanding of these arts likely surpasses even that of the sect leader of Baiyun sect. At this juncture, having perfected the 3 major techniques, the only path forward is to elevate my own cultivation. I should pay a visit to the Tonggonlo. With my breakthrough to Yuanhai realm, I am now eligible to cultivate Jia Xian rank techniques. With his chin resting thoughtfully in his hand, he begins to contemplate his future plans, ultimately deciding to seek out a suitable Xian rank technique. Resolute, he hesitates no longer. As he activates the Lian body technique, a soft mist envelopes him, his form gracefully shifting and vanishing without a trace. Senior brother Qingming is indeed formidable. He has once again broken through to the mid-phase of the Yin-Yang realm. Moreover, he has successfully ascended to an inner-sect disciple. This is truly commendable. Indeed, senior brother Qingming is a prodigy. His cultivation will surely yield twice the results with half the effort. Senior brother, I hope you will guide us in our cultivation in the future. Outside the Canggo, a group of Baiyun sect disciples clad in purple robes surround a tall, proud young man, showering him with praise as if he were a legendary figure in the realm of cultivation. The young man, named Qingming, evidently relishes this adulation, adopting an air of a reclusive master as he waves dismissively. Let's set aside the matter of cultivation for now. Let's see how you all conduct yourselves in the future. He does not immediately acquiesce to the flattery of his sycophants, but instead smiles knowingly. The others quickly grasp the implication, pulling out the few spirit stones and elixirs they possess to offer them up, claiming it to be payment for their cultivation costs. It is well known that the disparity between inner and outer sects is monumental. If one can cultivate a good relationship, they might thrive even as an outer disciple. Senior brother Qingming, is that not Su Bai from Daotian Peak over there? Just as Qingming is receiving his tributes, one of the disciples suddenly speaks up. The crowd turns to see Su Bai approaching the Tonggonlo alone, his demeanor exuding an air of natural grace that starkly contrasts with Qingming's pretentiousness. A spark of jealousy ignites within Qingming, and with a darkened expression, he strides forward. Oh, if it isn't the useless Su Bai from Daotian Peak. Someone like you should have long been expelled from the sect. How dare you show your face at the Tonggonlo? The contemptuous attitude of his rival infuriates him, and he cannot help but taunt further. The provocation in his eyes intensifies. If he could defeat Su Bai here, leveraging his connections, he might just manage to expel this nuisance from the sect. Indeed, after over 30 years, you are still merely in the Yin-Yang realm. You hardly deserve to remain in Baiyun's sect. Exactly. What right do you have to be in the same sect as my senior brother Qinming? You should spare us the embarrassment and return to your Daotian peak. The outer disciples accompanying Qinming join in the mockery, treating Su Bai not as a fellow disciple, but as an adversary. In response to their derision, Su Bai merely smirks coldly. Qinming, after over a decade in the sect, you are still only in the mid-phase of the Yin-Yang realm. I dare say you are the real waste here. Had it not been for his extraordinary abilities, he might have hesitated before, but now, emboldened by his strength, Su Bai feels no need to shrink back, retorting directly. In Qinming's mind, Su Bai should still be at the initial phase of the Yin-Yang realm for him to speak so boldly in his presence, especially with so many sycophants watching, was simply unbearable. In a fit of rage, he prepares to strike. However, before he can utter a word, the outer disciples surge forward, their expressions aflame with fury, completely encircling Su Bai. It is clear that this display is merely to curry favor with Qinming. I am eager to see what this so-called waste of the Yin-Yang realm can do to back up his bravado. Rest assured, we won't kill you, we will only break your limbs, leaving you bedridden for 10 days or more. Then you will learn that some words should not be spoken lightly. Don't blame us for being ruthless, Su Bai. The outer disciples, much like Qinming, have all pegged Su Bai as merely an initial phase Yin-Yang disciple. Though their own strength is lacking, a group of over 10 should be more than enough to handle him. The thought of showcasing their prowess before the inner disciple, Chen Peng, fills them with pride. The elder seated outside the Feng'o is drawn to the commotion but makes no move, merely observing quietly. After all, as long as these disciples do not intend to vandalize the Tangshu, he need not intervene. As Su Bai regards the encircling outer disciples, each radiating the aura of the Yin-Yang realm, a smile creeps upon his lips. No wonder you are so confident. You intend to use numbers to overwhelm me. Very well. A glint of cold light flashes in his eyes, and before his words have fully left his lips, his form vanishes. In the void, countless sword images erupt forth, their sudden appearance reminiscent of divine retribution, the sword intent shattering the ground beneath them. The elder Lu Ming, who had been seated not far away, displays a look of astonishment. He perceives the situation unfolding and cannot help but ponder deeply. In an instant, the outer disciples surrounding him collapse, each unable to suppress their cries of anguish. Upon closer inspection, they each bear a blood mark from sword chi on their necks, and had the wounds been just a fraction deeper, they might have severed their arteries. Witnessing this scene, the once smug Qinming, who had anticipated watching Su Bai beg for mercy, suddenly feels as though he is plunged into an abyss of ice. Such overwhelming force causes his legs to weaken uncontrollably, and with a thud, he kneels before Su Bai. Su Bai, senior brother, I was blind, I hope you can spare me. Indeed, he shows no trace of dignity the moment he sees his lackeys fall. He immediately pleads for mercy. The sword strike had left him utterly bewildered. Had he truly engaged Su Bai in combat, he feared he would not survive the encounter. Hearing the pleas for mercy, Su Bai pays him no mind and turns instead toward the Sangungla. He has no interest in the weak and is unwilling to waste precious time. Elder Lu Ming, in charge of overseeing the Sangunglo, finally regains his composure from the earlier sword intent, his heart filled with astonishment. The purity of that sword intent is such that even he would require considerable time to comprehend, is this truly the strength of a disciple in the Yin-Yang realm? Moreover, Su Bai's cultivation level is something even Lu Ming struggles to discern. This young man is destined for greatness. I must befriend him. Almost immediately, he resolves with determination gleaming in his eyes. If even he cannot fathom the cultivation of this individual, it is clear he is extraordinary. And that sword intent would leave even a sword master feeling ashamed. He cannot let this opportunity slip away. Su Bai, is it? Please step inside. Feel free to select any technique you desire. Amidst the astonished gazes of Qinming and his companions, Lu Ming speaks with a gentle smile, his demeanor exuding a generosity that suggests he is prepared to offer Su by the entirety of the Feng techniques. Chapter 3. The strange occurrences at the Demon Suppression Tower. Su Bai never anticipated that Elder Lu Ming of the Gong building would one day display such generosity that I in his memory. The elder was always stern and unsmiling. After much contemplation, it seemed that only the fleeting glimmer of sword intent he had recently revealed could have alerted Lu Ming. Otherwise, such amiability was utterly inconceivable. Thank you for your kindness, Elder Lu, but let us adhere to the established rules. With my current cultivation level, I will select a profound level technique. Although the elder expressed a desire for camaraderie, Su Bai understood that there is no free lunch in this world, and thus he declined the offer. Lu Ming, aware that haste would not serve well, merely nodded in acquiescence. Very well, you may freely choose a technique from the first tier of profound level skills. Though he could not discern Lu Ming's cultivation, he did not press for further information. The ability to repel a dozen adversaries of the Yin-Yang realm suggested that Lu Ming was likely at the pinnacle of that realm, or perhaps even at the Yuan-Hai realm. Choosing a profound level technique was certainly unproblematic. Once granted permission, Su Bai wasted no time and stepped into the Gong building. The scene before him transformed in an instant, and he found himself in a loft brimming with books. It must be said that although the Baiyun sect was not a top-tier sect, it possessed a substantial heritage that on the first floor, where the yellow-level techniques were housed, numerous disciples were engrossed in their favorite manuals. Oblivious to the newcomer, after a cursory glance, Su Bai ascended directly to the second floor, where the profound level skills were located. In stark contrast to the first floor, the second floor had significantly fewer disciples. His gaze eventually settled upon a shelf filled with mid-tier profound level texts. The dazzling array of books was enchanting. Yet Su Bai struggled to find a technique that resonated with him. That it was not a matter of indecision. Rather, he sought a technique that would complement his three primary methods and required thoughtful consideration. After spending a good portion of an hour, he selected a technique entitled Earth Fire Flame Decision, according to the records. Mastering it would allow one to envelop oneself in the flames of the Earth's core, forming a fiery armor or condensing it upon a sword to enhance its lethality. Presently, Su Bai required an auxiliary technique, making the Earth Fire Flame Decision an apt choice. Having acquired the technique, he did not linger, nor did he bid farewell to Lu Ming. Engaging the Luyin movement technique, he vanished from the second floor of the Gong building. Upon returning to his residence, Su Bai prepared to enter seclusion once more. With the capabilities of the Qingming Lion decision, he estimated that within a century, he would break through to the Four Symbols realm. Moreover, he could utilize this time to thoroughly cultivate the Earth Fire Flame Decision. Just as he was contemplating this, Daodian Peak unexpectedly received a visitor. This place was indeed a blessed land, with a concentration of spiritual energy several times that of other peaks. An elderly man clad in azure robes descended from the sky. Unable to suppress his exclamation, the visitor was none other than Lu Ming, who had sensed Su Bai's departure. The elder was momentarily taken aback. At present, Su Bai was not employing the Qingming Lion decision, yet the spiritual energy here remained astonishingly potent that if not for his keen perception, others would have been oblivious, but Lu Ming was able to sense it immediately, indicating his formidable prowess. Elder Lu Ming, what brings you here? Su Bai inquired, unable to suppress a frown. After all, he needed to focus on his cultivation breakthrough and did not wish to squander time on trivial matters. Ho ho ho, do not be so glum, young brother Su Bai. Have you heard of the Demon Suppression Tower? Recently, there has been a disturbance with the demon beasts within. Given your impressive skills, why not lend your strength to the sect? Although Lu Ming's expression was not particularly cheerful, he spoke with a jovial tone. That Su Bai was somewhat familiar with the Demon Suppression Tower, and considering his current strength, it was indeed prudent to enter and slay demon beasts to acquire their souls, which could be exchanged for necessary cultivation materials. However, with the Qingming Lion decision at his disposal, he felt indifferent and was prepared to decline. This is a gathering chi pill, a reward for your century of hard work. What do you think? Before Su Bai could refuse, Lu Ming produced a smooth, round pill, smiling as he presented it. The gathering chi pill was inscribed with 3 runes, resembling a natural treasure of the world. The fragrant aroma wafting from it invigorated Su Bai. That I have recently gained some insights, and I shall head to the Demon Suppression Tower in 3 days. unable to reject such earnest hospitality. Su Bai accepted the pill without a moment's hesitation. Lu Ming let out a sigh of relief upon receiving the pill. While others might be unaware, he understood all too well that the demon suppression tower required periodic purging every few decades. Otherwise, the demon beasts within would proliferate uncontrollably, threatening the entire Baiyun sect. Therefore, Su Bai's agreement was undoubtedly a fortuitous development, as an additional formidable ally would stabilize the tower for some time. After bidding farewell to Lu Ming, Su Bai returned to his loft, resolved to venture into the demon suppression tower. His motivations were twofold: to test his own capabilities and to gauge the disparity between himself and the Four Symbols realm demon beasts within. Recognizing his determination, the system activated its autonomous operation mode. Unbeknownst to Su Bai, a message from his golden finger emerged. In the ensuing days, Su Bai consumed the Gathering Chi pill, and under the influence of the mid-tier profound-level technique Earth Fire Flame Decision, made rapid progress over the course of 3 days, transcending the Yuanhai realm and advancing into the Four Symbols realm. At the moment of his ascension, extraordinary phenomena unfolded. Spiritual energy coalesced into the ethereal forms of the Four Symbols divine beasts, encircling Su Bai in that instant. The entire Baiyun sect seemed to be enveloped in celestial music, and everyone experienced a surge in comprehension. Goodness, the Gathering Chi pill is remarkably effective. It is indeed time to visit the demon suppression tower. Exhaling a breath of stale air, Su Bai could not help but reflect as he prepared to fulfill his promise. Before the demon suppression tower, a throng of Baiyun sect disciples had gathered. Their faces etched with anxiety and panic as Su Bai approached. His brow furrowed slightly as he observed the disciples, their garments tattered and stained with blood, evidently having endured a fierce battle. Looking up, he saw that the once towering and arrayed demon suppression tower now exuded a thick, dark miasma. The seal established by previous sect leaders had shattered, and countless demon beasts of the Yin-Yang and early Yuanhai realms were stirring, poised to escape the confines of the tower. Witnessing this scene, despair gripped the hearts of the disciples, as the loosening of the seal meant that the elders and sect leader were preoccupied with suppressing the chaos and could offer no assistance. Should these minor demons break free, all present would inevitably face a gruesome fate. That a sense of hopelessness permeated the square, for the strength of the gathered disciples was insufficient to withstand the onslaught of the beasts. And many believed their end was nigh. Amidst the despair, there was one who stood apart, Su Bai, whose countenance remained calm as he gazed at the shattered seal above. Slowly, he drew his sword from his waist. With a flash, the sword's light soared into the heavens, imbued with sword intent, that in a single stroke, the world changed hues, and the sun and moon dimmed. The chaotic sword intent surged forth, sweeping away thousands of minor demons in an instant. Even Yuanhai realm beasts could not withstand the might of this strike. Disciples who had reconciled themselves to their impending demise were momentarily stunned by the sudden brilliance of Su Bai's sword. Their despair transformed into joy, and they gazed at Su Bai with awe, a profound sense of reverence filling their eyes. "Please, senior brother, lend your strength. Save the elders and the sect leader. Senior brother, we implore you. Rescue the elders and the sect leader. Please, senior brother, we beseech you. Rescue the venerable sect leader." The appearance of Su Bai was akin to a radiant beacon, igniting hope in the hearts of those engulfed in darkness and despair. They knelt in unison, beseeching him for aid. In response to their earnest pleas, Su Bai uttered not a word. Instead, he brandished a sword, his white garments billowing like those of an ethereal being. After a slight nod of acknowledgement, his figure dissipated like wisps of cloud before the eyes of his disciples. Within the demon suppression tower, an eerie and sinister aura pervaded the atmosphere. From a distance, the howls of demonic beasts echoed, reminiscent of the anguished roars from the depths of hell. At the heart of the tower, Yang Jian, the leader of the Baiyun sect, was currently channeling his power, summoning countless azure peaks from above to subdue the demon king contained within. The elder Lu Ming, along with 13 other peak elders of the Yuanhai realm, were diligently forming a demon-slaying formation to assist in the effort. However, as the demon king let out a furious roar, the formation was shattered in an instant. It was evident that this formidable foe had been gathering strength for a long time, aiming for a decisive escape from the demon suppression tower. The sudden shockwave of sound caught even Yang Jian off guard, and the situation had become perilously critical. Chapter 4. The heart of the earth's flame decimates the crow demon king. The chaotic sound waves sliced through the air like blades. Due to the abruptness of the attack, sect leader Yang Jian found himself facing it head-on and was instantly hurled backward. Blood sprayed forth, staining his pristine garments, and astonishment filled his eyes that he could not comprehend why the crow demon king, who had stood as his equal for over a millennium in the early stages of the Four Symbols realm, had suddenly advanced to the mid-stage of the same realm. With his current strength, he could no longer hope to suppress his adversary. Should the crow demon king manage to escape the tower, the Baiyun sect would face obliteration. In a state of rising panic, Yang Jian hastily circulated his techniques, striving to contend once more. This scene did not escape Su Bai's notice as he pressed onward, dispatching every obstructing demon with his blade. Yet, some managed to evade his sword's intent. Although releasing them might endanger the disciples of the sect, Su Bai understood the principle of capturing the leader before the minions. The demon suppression tower had always housed a demon king, and to alter the tide of battle, he needed to vanquish it. He was untroubled by the prospect of defeat, for the sect leader and the esteemed elders had already proceeded to suppress the threat. However, the unfolding scene had evidently surpassed Su Bai's expectations. Who could have anticipated that even the combined might of the sect leader and 13 elders would prove inadequate against the crow demon king? Judging by the malevolent aura emanating from the demon, it was clear that it had reached at least the mid-stage of the Four Symbols realm, Su Bai. At this critical juncture, the 13 elders contemplated sacrificing their own cultivation to forcibly seal the crow demon king. But as they drew near, Lu Ming caught sight of the suddenly appearing Su Bai in that moment. He could not help but feel regret. Given Su Bai's potential, he could become a stabilizing force on the continent in due time. Had he known the crow demon king would escalate to this level, he would not have invited Su Bai to join. Su Bai, you must leave at once. This creature is beyond our capacity to handle. Preserving the flame of the Baiyun sect is your utmost priority. Lu Ming's eyes reddened, fully aware that the current situation was insurmountable, that he understood the swiftness of Su Bai's cloud-like movement and wished to urge him to retreat from this perilous place. To safeguard the last embers of their legacy, without waiting for a response, Lu Ming turned to glare at the crow demon king, his spiritual energy surging. The others were prepared to fight to the death at any moment. Even Yang Jian was resolved to burn his cultivation to protect the Baiyun sect. The atmosphere reached a tense climax, everyone anticipating the moment to unleash their most formidable techniques in a desperate struggle against the crow demon king. Demon-slaying formation, rise again. Yang Jian's commanding voice rang out, and a terrifying wave of energy erupted from his body. All the elders were already ready, igniting their powers to reconstruct the demon-slaying formation. Countless rays of light intertwined in the air, inscribing symbols that a multitude of winds coalesced into chains, surging toward the crow demon king. Boom! However, before the chains could even draw near, they were shattered by a surge of demonic energy. Yang Jian could no longer hold back. Pointing his finger as if it were a sword, he struck at the location of the crow demon king, that in an instant, spiritual energy gathered in the void, transforming into a colossal sword inscribed with runes, descending upon the demon. Such a grand and formidable strike could not be taken lightly by the crow demon king, who let out a piercing shriek. Its fur bristled, launching forth like a tempest, relentlessly battering the runic sword. The space trembled violently, and the chaotic waves of energy radiated outward. Upon closer inspection, the runic sword was already riddled with wounds. And Yang Jian coughed up blood, staggering back, his aura waning. Appearing as though all hope was lost, that a sense of despair enveloped the hearts of all present. Even the disciples of the sect outside the tower could sense the overwhelming aura of the demon king. It seemed that all was lost. The 13 elders were devoid of any hope. That moment, a figure slowly descended from the sky. Clad in white, shrouded in mist, he appeared like a celestial being descending from the heavens, exuding an ethereal quality that imparted a sense of solitude and otherworldliness. Crow demon king, allow me to have a word with you. Su Bai hovered in the air, his eyes brimming with fervent battle intent. Speaking in a calm yet resolute tone, none present anticipated that, at the critical juncture, it would be an inconspicuous disciple of the Baiyun sect who would step forward. Su Bai, Do not act rashly. The Crow Demon King has already reached the mid-stage of the Four Symbols realm. Its wings are as formidable as a millennium of cold iron. Those below the Four Symbols realm cannot inflict even a scratch. Lu Ming, taken aback by Su Bai's sudden appearance, urgently cautioned him. Yang Jian looked at this rather unfamiliar disciple with a bitter smile. As the leader of the sect, he had failed to protect his domain. And now, at this crucial moment, he had allowed a disciple to take the forefront. What a profound failure that was. Below the Four Symbols realm. Then I shall simply achieve the Four Symbols realm. Initially, Su Bai had thought the adversary would be troublesome, but after Lu Ming's warning, he couldn't help but chuckle lightly. In the next instant, a surge of formidable energy erupted from within him. The spiritual essence of heaven and earth was summoned, and in the void, the distant roar of a beast could be faintly heard. A barely perceptible halo appeared behind his head, while whirlwinds encircled his limbs. You have reached the Four Symbols realm? The sight of this phenomenon left the elders in awe, and even Yang Jian could not help but murmur in disbelief. Who could have imagined that within the vast Baiyun sect, aside from the sect leader, there would be another powerhouse of the Four Symbols realm? The Crow Demon King, not far away, was enveloped in a dark and brooding countenance. Its pitch-black wings shimmered with a chilling light, resembling divine weaponry. Merely unfurling them evoked a sense of eclipsing the sun, and the power they contained could shatter stone and jade with ease. Kid, I advise you to scram to in the next moment. The Crow Demon King surprisingly spoke, directly warning Su Bai to leave. That had failed to fathom Su Bai's intentions, and this unpredictable anomaly made it reluctant to take risks. In the face of this warning, Su Bai remained unfazed. He slowly drew the sword from his waist, and in the dim candlelight of the tower, a faint cold radiance emanated. That if we were on solid ground, I might indeed not be your match. But the Demon Suppression Tower is situated underground, which changes everything. With a light chuckle, he raised his sword toward the Crow Demon King, his words saturated with overwhelming confidence. All of this stemmed from his formidable strength. A torrent of battle intent surged forth, and the intent of his sword enveloped him like an aura. Incensed by such audacity, the Crow Demon King erupted in fury. That had extended its final act of mercy. Yet Su Bai's blatant disregard compelled it to forego restraint. The figure engulfed in the demon-slaying formation suddenly expanded, its claws tearing through the air with a single strike, shattering the formation and striking one of the elders, leaving him gravely injured and unconscious. In light of this scene, Su Bai no longer held back. With a flick of his fingertip, he activated the heart of the Earth's flame. In the next moment, the surrounding humidity was instantaneously evaporated, and everyone, including the Crow Demon King, felt a wave of scorching heat. Then, from the void, crimson runes began to drift down like falling leaves, cascading into Su Bai's longsword. 2 days prior, Su Bai had received a notification from the system that the heart of the Earth's flame had successfully ascended to perfection through refinement, which was why he faced the Crow Demon King with such composure. For this was in the depths of the earth. Channeling the essence of the underground, he plunged deeper with the heart of the Earth's flame as his guide. After this strike, the Demon Suppression Tower shall be free from worry for a century. Slowly opening his eyes, a red glow surged forth, and a rune danced in his gaze as his voice resonated like an ethereal melody. The ground trembled and cracked, and countless streams of magma erupted. The searing flames of the underground were summoned, coalescing into an immense sword through unparalleled techniques, the extreme heat distorting the very fabric of the void. At this moment, the Crow Demon King sensed the overwhelming intent to kill. A wave of impending doom rising within the falling as it sought to resist. A voice akin to that of a deity resonated, and a colossal wave of searing heat descended like a massive sword. Brutally crashing down, the terrifying magma, reminiscent of the grasp of hellish specters, engulfed the Crow Demon King entirely. The entire Baiyun sect seemed to unleash a dreadful howling, a cacophony that persisted for a full half-hour before finally dissipating. Once the dust had settled, Yang Jian and the 13 elders gazed in astonishment at the abyss before them, nearly 100 meters deep, rendered speechless by the gravity of the situation. The Crow Demon King is dead. Dead! It was Lu Ming who first regained his composure, his voice brimming with excitement, resonating loudly enough for the entire Baiyun sect to hear. Upon hearing this exclamation, the disciples of Baiyun sect, who were valiantly struggling against the encroaching demonic entities, erupted into cheers, for it signified their survival from this calamity. Everyone was overwhelmed with exhilaration, yet only the inner disciple Chun Ming wore a countenance of fluctuating emotions that he was acutely aware that only Su Bai had entered the fray. And within half a day, the catastrophe of the demon suppression tower had been quelled. He could not believe that nothing had transpired. With this thought, the resentment in his eyes surged forth, and a hint of dark energy coiled around his brow. Chapter 5. The overwhelming power of Yin and Yang. 3 days had passed since the incident at the demon suppression tower, and the construction of the sect was gradually proceeding. The recent demonic upheaval had incurred losses amounting to nearly 10,000 spirit stones. Yet it had not dealt a crippling blow. All of this was thanks to Su Bai's decisive action in slaying the Crow Demon King at the last moment. The demonic creatures that had escaped were left leaderless, and with the assistance of the 13 recovering elders, they were swiftly eradicated. Now, within the great hall of the sect, all the elders had gathered, their faces beaming with joy. Young brother Su Bai possesses extraordinary strength. Congratulations on becoming an honorary elder of our Baiyun sect. Truly, this is a momentous occasion. It is indeed a stroke of fortune for our Baiyun sect to have someone so accomplished at such a young age. Having attained the status of honorary elder at such a tender age, the future appears boundless. The previously stern-faced elders now surrounded Su Bai, offering their congratulations. Just moments ago, sect leader Yang Jian had recognized Su Bai's merit in vanquishing the Demon King, bestowing upon him the title of honorary elder and appointing him to represent the sect in recruiting disciples in Lingxiao City, thereby replenishing their ranks with fresh blood. Such a significant responsibility underscored Yang Jian's regard for Su Bai, a fact that did not go unnoticed by the elders. You all flatter me. I still have much to learn, and I hope the esteemed elders will be lenient with me, Su Bai humbly replied, a modest smile gracing his lips. This display of humility only served to further endear him to the elders at such a young age, having reached the Four Symbols realm and slain a demon king without arrogance. How many young individuals could achieve such a feat? The more he exhibited such qualities, the more they cherished him. Lingxiao City is one of the largest cities surrounding Baiyun sect, a bustling hub through which nearly all sects must pass. Here, one could behold an endless throng of mortals and cultivators. This was Su Bai's first impression as he arrived, tasked with recruiting disciples for Baiyun sect while also seeking to broaden his horizons. After more than 30 years of traversing this world, he had yet to step beyond the confines of his sect, maintaining a sense of wonder towards all affairs. However, the immediate priority was to make his way to the city lord's mansion, responsible for the recruitment endeavor. Though this was his first undertaking, Su Bai felt no trepidation, as it was not Baiyun sect's inaugural attempt at recruiting newcomers in this city. Yet the reality unfolded differently than he had anticipated. Upon hearing Su Bai's purpose for visiting, City Lord Li Yunfei exhibited no change in demeanor, for he had already heard of the recent turmoil caused by the demonic beasts within Baiyun sect. It was evident to him that they were gravely weakened, hence their urgency in seeking new disciples. Honorable Elder Su Bai, it is not that I am unwilling, but with the current state of Baiyun sect, it is likely you will struggle to recruit talented individuals. The Haiyan sect has consistently maintained a position among the stronger sects in the vicinity, and it would be prudent for gifted youths to gravitate towards them, Li Yunfei said, deliberately challenging Su Bai while favoring the elder clad in black and red attire from Haiyan sect. His insinuation was clear. He intended to tilt the balance in favor of the opposing sect. Therefore, Elder Su Bai, I kindly request that you seek to recruit disciples in other cities, he continued, his tone dripping with sarcasm, clearly indicating that he did not wish for the children of Lingxiao City to become fodder for Baiyun sect. The elder from Haiyan sect nodded in agreement, mocking laughter evident in his expression, as they too were aware of Baiyun sect's recent troubles. Despite this being his first assignment, Su Bai was not oblivious to their veiled insults. His gaze gradually turning icy to, oh, by the way, I forgot to inform you, Elder Su Bai, that the offerings previously designated for Baiyun sect have now been allocated to Haiyan sect, that I do not wish to act in this manner. But who knows whether you will be able to safeguard yourselves in the future. As if feeling that the previous humiliation was insufficient, Li Yunfei pressed on, transferring what rightfully belonged to Baiyun sect to Haiyan sect. The other sect elders present frowned slightly upon hearing this. as it was tantamount to Li Yunfei's intention to exclude Baiyun sect entirely. That it was well known that Baiyun sect had always been the most instrumental in aiding Lingxiao City during beast tides, and such actions were viewed with disdain. You young man, being appointed as an elder at your age speaks volumes of Baiyun sect's newfound prominence, now that your sect has suffered significant losses. You are no longer worthy of receiving offerings from Lingxiao City. That I advise you to leave quickly. The elder from Haiyan sect seized the opportunity to mock Su Bai, showing no regard for the decorum between sections. Zhu Linger from Tianshui sect opened her mouth, but seeing the other sects choose to remain silent, she could only lower her head in disappointment. That it was not that she did not wish to speak out, but as a representative of her sect, she could not act unilaterally. Thus she sighed helplessly in her heart. That in the face of such rhetoric, Su Bai could not be bothered to engage in futile discourse. He extended 2 fingers, wielding them as if they were a sword, manifesting a blade of intent. Thousands of runes coalesced in the void, and with a vigorous wave of his arm, a resounding hum echoed. The sword light surged skyward, piercing through the roof of the city lord's mansion, the sword intent firmly etched within its confines. This sword intent was boundless and eternal, lasting for a century without fading. In that instant, Li Yunfei felt an inexplicable pang of dread, a sensation that lingered even as he attempted to dispel it through cultivation techniques. Though I am unaware of the source of your absurd claims, to insult Baiyun sect comes at a grave cost. Su Bai's voice, cold as ancient ice, loomed over him. Thud. Almost at once, Li Yunfei collapsed to his knees. A sect elder, please temper your wrath. I was blind and foolish. I beseech you to withdraw your divine power. Before the eyes of the gathered assembly, he knelt in supplication, his voice laced with terror. For the moment he had retracted his cultivation, a vision of mountains of corpses and seas of blood unfurled before him. With countless wraiths rushing forth, the overwhelming intent to kill was unbearable, even for the servants within the city lord's mansion. That if this sword intent were to persist, it was certain that Lingxiao City would plunge into ruin. As no one wished to live in fear, that in stark contrast, the Haiyan sect, which he had previously exalted, had turned tail and fled the moment the sword intent manifested, disappearing without a trace. This maneuver left all present gasping in disbelief, as representatives of the other sects shivered at the palpable terror emanating from the sword intent, daring not to question Su Bai's strength. Meanwhile, Zhu Linger from Tianshui sect felt a flicker of admiration for Su Bai's boldness. With talents like you in Baiyun sect, how could it possibly decline? She praised, her voice as melodious as a lark. This unexpected compliment momentarily took Su Bai aback, yet before he could respond, a figure clad in black and red dashed in from outside. Unmistakably a member of Haiyan sect. Without a doubt, this was the individual who had gone to summon their sect elder. You, how dare you threaten those under the protection of Haiyan sect? The elder from Haiyan sect stepped into the city lord's mansion, his voice icy and filled with rage, an unmistakable signal that he was ready to fight at a moment's notice. Thank you for your kind words, Miss, Su Bai replied, casting a brief glance in her direction while ignoring the elder entirely. The representatives from the other sects instinctively withdrew, as they could see that the elder from Haiyan sect was on the verge of eruption, veins bulging with rage. Brat, prepare to die. Being disregarded was a first for the elder in his 30 years of holding this position, and it was an affront he could not tolerate. Ignoring the principles of martial ethics, he leapt into the air. The dark energy he wielded morphing into a massive poisonous serpent, hurtling towards Su Bai's throat. Yet, such a grand attack met only emptiness. Boom! Amidst the swirling mist, the obsidian serpent crashed into the ground, stones flying. Yet Su Bai's figure was nowhere to be seen. When you strike next time, refrain from announcing your intentions. As if in fear that others might not realize you are about to attack, the elder of the Black Rock sect stood in astonishment. A glimmer of cold light appeared at his throat, immediately followed by Su Bai's voice resonating behind him. With a single move, he had triumphed over his adversary, far surpassing everyone's expectations. Damn it, just you wait. Within 3 months, the Baiyun sect will surely be annihilated. Aware that his opponent would not genuinely kill him, the elder could only utter harsh words before retreating in disgrace with the sect's representatives. After all, given the circumstances, recruiting new disciples had become an impossibility. Watching them depart, Su Bai, uninterested in dwelling on these matters, turned to leave. Whether or not he had received Li Yunfei's endorsement was no longer significant. "Wait, may I inquire about your swordsmanship?" Just as he was about to exit, Zhu Linger stepped forward. Her eyes brimmed with fervent battle spirit, for she had been unable to discern how Su Bai executed that sword strike, that as a sword cultivator, her obsession with the sword path was akin to madness. Naturally, she yearned to seek guidance. "Certainly, I am Su Bai from the Baiyin sect." This girl was one of the few who wished to speak on his behalf, and Su Bai, without hesitation, introduced himself. The representatives from other sects hurriedly departed, clearing a space for the two of them. "I am Zhu Linger of the Tianshui sect. Please bestow your teachings upon me." Zhu Linger felt a surge of joy. After stating her name, she drew her sword and assumed a stance. Without waiting for Su Bai's response, she employed her footwork, closing in rapidly. In contrast to the Baiyin sect, the Tianshui sect's footwork resembled flowing water, elusive and difficult to comprehend, while their offensive was relentless. Akin to waves crashing upon the shore, raise the tip of your sword. This will allow you to strike the throat. However, this time, the blade is too low to reach the opponent's lower body. It is overly soft. You should increase the force to secure a decisive victory. As the Luyan footwork activated, Su Bai's form became like mist, shifting unpredictably as he guided Zhu Linger while parrying her strikes with the hilt of his sword. The more they sparred, the more astonished she became, for the issues Su Bai pointed out were the same her master had raised, and some even more detailed, revealing a level of expertise that surpassed her own mentor. As the match progressed, her feelings of inadequacy deepened. Eventually, realizing that her swordsmanship was no match for his, she felt a sense of relief. "I have learned much today. Thank you, Elder Su Bai, for your guidance." As the bout concluded, Zhu Linger felt compelled to cease, increasingly aware that Su Bai was merely indulging her in practice, and she couldn't help but smile sheepishly, clasping her hands in gratitude. Such a level of instruction, when pondered upon in the future, would undoubtedly elevate her swordsmanship to new heights. Nonsense, Miss Zhu's swordsmanship is indeed exceptional. Without paying much heed, Su Bai left that remark and began contemplating how to recruit new disciples. Observing her visage, Zhu Linger momentarily lost her focus. With sword-like brows and starry eyes, exuding an ethereal presence, her heart unwittingly fluttered with admiration for him. Thanks to the recent events at the city Lord's Manor, Su Bai's earlier dilemma regarding recruitment was resolved. Not only Zhu Linger, but other sect representatives also shared insights on evaluating the potential of new disciples, leading to Su Bai successfully enrolling hundreds of 12-year-old youths. With matters settled, he did not linger and made his way back to the Baiyun sect with the young disciples. Unbeknownst to Su Bai, the elder Zhang Bai, who had previously fled in defeat, was now accompanied by 5 other elders from his sect, laying a soul-vanquishing formation along the path he was destined to traverse, intent on ambushing him. Chapter 6. Comprehending the soul-vanquishing sword. The sky was clear and devoid of clouds. The sun shining brightly. Su Bai, accompanied by the throng of youths, traversed the path leading to the Baiyin sect. It was not that he did not wish to utilize spiritual energy to hasten their return. Rather, the sheer number of individuals required an overwhelming amount of energy. And even now, having stepped into the Four Symbols realm, he was reluctant to overreach, just as Su Bai contemplated how to enhance his own abilities. The void suddenly split apart, and countless dark runes coalesced, transforming into myriad streams of light that radiated outward from him, forming a foreboding formation that extended 100 meters. The sudden emergence of the formation left the hundreds of youths pale-faced. Bewildered by the unfolding events, Su Bai, responsible for the group, quickly regained his composure. Reflecting on the only previous conflict during this journey, he realized it was with the Black Rock sect. "I didn't expect that old fool to be so petty," he thought bitterly. Unable to suppress his inner thoughts, he placed his hand on the hilt of his sword. The next instant, 6 thick, opaque clouds of black mist surged forth, eventually revealing 6 elders clad in black and red robes. "Ha, I wondered what abilities you possessed, but it seems you are merely this," Zhang Bai taunted, standing outside the formation. This formation is a closely guarded secret of the Black Rock sect, the soul-vanquishing formation. With 6 elders in place, even if you are in the Four Symbols realm, your life is in jeopardy. Standing at the edge of the formation, Zhang Bai gazed mockingly at Su Bai. He cared little for the possibility of innocent casualties, all to ensure the demise of the youth who had humiliated him. He, Little brat of the Bayun sect, if you kneel and apologize now, perhaps we can spare your life. Indeed, but you must sacrifice your limbs and self-destruct your inner Dan for that to happen. I must say, this lad is rather handsome. Why not cripple his cultivation and sell him to the pleasure houses? It could be quite profitable, remarked another elder from the Black Rock sect, their faces alight with amusement as they scrutinized Subai. Clearly, they had no intention of letting him off lightly. At the very least, they sought to force him into self-destruction of his inner Dan, effectively ruining his path to immortality. Unperturbed by the mockery of the 6 Black Rock elders, Subai slowly drew his sword. Even if he wished to retort, he could not afford to be trapped within this soul-vanquishing formation. Moreover, if he showed weakness, the hundreds of youths behind him would likely meet the same fate. And that was utterly unacceptable. With a swift motion, as the Qingfeng sword was unsheathed, a sword intent akin to that of a celestial phoenix soared into the heavens, unleashing a torrent of sword energy that appeared as though a sword immortal had descended upon the earth. Standing amidst it all, Subai, clad in a flowing white robe with long hair billowing, gathered the Qingfeng 13 swords into a myriad of spiritual swords that surged outward in all directions. In an instant, the ground trembled and the void quaked. The once impregnable formation, inscribed with runes, now faced relentless assaults from the countless sword intents that it quivered violently, as if on the verge of shattering. This scene caused the elders of the Black Rock sect to change countenance. They knew that even a mid-stage cultivator in the Four Symbols realm would struggle to shake this soul-vanquishing formation. Yet under Subai's hand, it couldn't withstand even a single strike. What kind of monstrous talent was this? However, just as they believed the painstakingly erected formation was about to collapse, the onslaught of sword intents unexpectedly faltered, then dissipated at the center of the formation. Subai furrowed his brow, sheathing his long sword. His expression somewhat grim, he turned to face the pale-faced youths behind him. The earlier surge of spiritual energy had caused their blood to surge, and had he continued recklessly, the formation might not have been breached before they succumbed to the residual shockwaves, shattering their meridians. This predicament of being unable to unleash his full power left Subai feeling somewhat helpless, as he could not allow harm to befall these children, in stark contrast to Subai's helpless expression. Zhang Bai perceived his hesitation and instantly felt elated. Subai was concerned for the children, but the Black Rock sect had no such reservations. They would exert their full strength to eliminate this youth. Otherwise, should he grow stronger, he would become a future threat. Understanding the grave consequences of allowing Subai to escape, Zhang Bai hurriedly called upon his fellow sect members, the other elders of the Black Rock sect. Having witnessed the astonishing sword intent moments earlier, naturally did not dare to be negligent. They performed hand seals, and a torrent of black mist surged around them, continuously infusing the soul-vanquishing formation. Countless strands of spiritual energy were refined and transformed, making the soul-vanquishing formation increasingly solid. The power contained within was terrifying. Even without making a move, it already caused the youths behind Subai to tremble in fear. Gazing at the intertwining runes in the air, Subai sat down cross-legged in silence. As his consciousness flowed, he began to reverse-engineer the intricacies of the entire soul-vanquishing formation. With the Black Rock elders continuously enhancing the formation, the overwhelming black mist transformed into hundreds of sharp tendrils, descending upon him. Originally silent and motionless, Subai's mind suddenly cleared, and a faint white mist enveloped him, extending outward in a delicate web that shielded all the youths behind him, employing the Luyan footwork. He focused his gaze on the descending black tendrils, his body dissipating like smoke to the astonishment of the Black Rock elders. The youths behind him also vanished like fleeting wisps of cloud. It was truly reckless to attempt to guide so many with his spiritual energy. The scene before Zhang Bai elicited a profound disdain upon his visage. In his estimation, the spiritual energy required to mobilize hundreds of individuals could be utterly depleted from a practitioner at the Four Symbols realm within mere moments. Little did he realize that at this very instant, Subai seemed to have entered a state of profound enlightenment. His eyes shimmered with a golden light, and within him, the golden finger began to operate autonomously. Ethereal threads, invisible to the naked eye, flowed from his being, ultimately affixing themselves to the entirety of the soul extermination grand array, gradually unraveling its intricacies. Within the soul extermination array, the clash of black and white energies reached a crescendo. Drawing nearer to its denouement, with the weight of hundreds upon him, Subai found his internal spiritual power dwindling to a mere fraction, pulling him from his meditative state. Congratulations to the host for comprehending the mysteries of the Soul Extermination Array. You have acquired the technique, Soul Extermination Sword. At that precise moment, a familiar mechanical voice resonated in his mind. Initially contemplating whether to engage in a mutually destructive confrontation, Subai was momentarily taken aback. A smile crept across his lips as he grasped the hilt and unsheathed the sword in one fluid motion. In an instant, a surge of sword intent ascended skyward, shattering the Soul Extermination Array and piercing the heavens. The chilling sword energy, capable of reaching even the distant Lingxiao city 100 miles away, manifested as a pitch-black divine weapon, suspended in the AI. Subai's sudden explosion of sword intent was utterly terrifying, rendering even the combined might of the 6 practitioners within the Soul Extermination Array incapable of resistance. Moreover, the sword intent harbored a sense of exorcising evil and shattering souls, subtly resonating with the Soul Extermination Array. Yet at this juncture, Zhang Bai could afford no further distractions. The very moment Subai shattered the array, he brandished his hands, manifesting talons of pure white energy that pierced the hearts of the other 5 elders of the Blackrock sect, devouring their souls. A rift of black light cleaved through the void, and as he departed, Zhang Bai's gaze towards Subai was filled with unrestrained fury. Chapter 7. Chun Ming's Jealousy, the calamity of the Baiyun sect after the preceding turmoil. Subai returned to the Baiyun sect, leading a group of youths without incident. Having witnessed his formidable prowess, the youths were filled with immense interest in joining the Baiyun sect. Subai, however, remained indifferent, and upon completing the transfer of responsibilities, he retreated to his own Daotian Peak. In the days that followed, he had found little time to properly cultivate. With the Soul Extermination Sword now in his possession, he was eager to delve into its mysteries. However, before he could commence his seclusion, Daotian Peak was once again graced by uninvited guests. Standing outside the pavilion, Subai regarded the 2 cheerful old men before him with an expression of exasperation. To his left stood Yang Jian, the sect leader, while to his right was the previously acquainted elder Lu Ming. Their faces bore smiles that seemed unending, as if they were concocting some scheme. "What brings you, sect leader and elder Lu?" he inquired, unable to conceal his weariness as he ushered them into the pavilion. After serving them warm tea, he couldn't help but voice his reluctance to waste time on trivial matters. "Ahem, I have observed celestial phenomena and discerned a portentous sign. Get to the point. Ahem, to summarize, after considerable deliberation, I have discovered that a suitable heir has emerged within our Baiyun sect." Seeing that Lu Ming was about to delve into a lengthy discourse, Yang Jian hastily urged him to speak plainly. Lu Ming could only manage an awkward smile and succinctly convey the purpose of their visit. "Indeed, Subai is that heir. This technique is called Baiyun Guanji. It is our Baiyun sect's signature technique, and I hope Elder Subai will accept it." Producing a tome enveloped in jade light, Yang Jian presented it with a beaming countenance. The notion of an heir was merely a ruse concocted by him and Lu Ming to persuade Subai to accept the offering. It was evident that at such a young age, Subai had attained the 4 Symbols realm and possessed the ability to vanquish the Crow Demon King, surpassing even Yang Jian in prowess. This was merely a method to cultivate Subai, for he was the one with the greatest potential to become the next master of the Baiyun sect. Though their claims bordered on the fantastical, Subai saw no reason to refuse the benefits presented to him. As the saying goes, one skill should never be underestimated. After a brief exchange, Subai bid farewell to the 2 elders. Finally able to enter seclusion for cultivation, 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. During this period, the Baiyun sect flourished. With the threat of the Crow Demon King eliminated, the materials harvested from the Demon Suppression Tower significantly increased, thereby enhancing the strength of many disciples within the sect. Everyone was progressing towards a brighter future. Yet one individual was consumed by unease. This person was Chun Ming. Over the past 3 days, upon hearing of Subai's return, he had been plagued by the fear of retribution. After all, he had previously spoken ill of Subai and had even considered resorting to violence against him, in a bid for peace of mind. He had ventured to Daotian Peak in search of Subai, only to be met with the cold shoulder. Having never even crossed the threshold of the door to the days passed, his mounting anxiety morphed into dread. leaving him in a state of perpetual unease, his mind fraying at the edges. That is this truly the mental fortitude of a disciple of the Baiyun sect? How absurd. Why not simply accept my terms? Then you shall have no fear of that brat. Ming tugged at his hair, his body trembling uncontrollably, dark energy swirling about his brow, as the remnants of the Crow Demon King's consciousness echoed in his mind. Long before the incident with the Demon Suppression Tower concluded, the remnants of the Demon King's consciousness inexplicably infiltrated his thoughts. Initially, Ming was apprehensive, but ultimately, the pressure exerted by Su Bai eclipsed his fear of this matter. Yes, I shall accept your conditions. No matter what, I cannot allow that Su to continue his arrogance. I am the hope of the Baiyun sect. As if under a spell, Ming's gaze became vacant. Muttering to himself, suddenly, he sprang to his feet, his spiritual energy surging forth as he transformed into a streak of light, racing towards the Demon Suppression Tower. Outside the tower, several sect disciples were sharing their harvest from the day. Before they could react, a blur sped past them. Was that Ming? Why is he in such a hurry? Who knows? That kid has been acting strange lately. Never mind him, let me tell you. Ming's presence went unnoticed. Like a stone cast into the sea. Upon entering the Demon Suppression Tower, he descended rapidly, the surrounding beasts sensing his aura and refraining from approaching. As he ventured deeper, he finally reached the tower's innermost sanctum. Once he steadied himself, he unhesitatingly concentrated his energy at his fingertips, tracing a complex sigil upon his chest. Blood seeped from his heart, staining the ground beneath him. In the next moment, the earth erupted, and a blood-soaked demon python burst forth, its power at the pinnacle of the Four Symbols realm, instilling terror in the very heavens. 3 days had slipped away in an instant that Su Bai emerged from his seclusion, stretching lazily. Yet before he could fully comprehend his surroundings, the sky darkened abruptly. In the distance, near the Demon Suppression Tower, a violet aura shot skyward, saturating the area with a thick miasma of demonic energy. The anguished cries and screams of the sect disciples echoed in his ears. Without a moment's hesitation, Su Bai activated the flowing cloud technique, vanishing from his location and hastening towards the Demon Suppression Tower. It was evident that chaos had erupted within. Elder Su Bai, you have finally arrived. Ming has lost his mind and unsealed the tower's barrier. The sect leader and the elders are attempting to subdue him. As Su Bai reached the periphery, the surrounding disciples clamored to recount their plight. That moment, he realized that the situation was indeed tied to Ming. Lead the other disciples away from the Demon Suppression Tower to prevent casualties. Understanding the dire circumstances, Su Bai uttered a directive before raising his gaze toward the sky above the tower. Compared to before, the upheaval this time was far more ferocious. Countless demonic beasts with blood-red eyes roared in a frenzied display. Atop the tower, Yang Jian was filled with trepidation. The Blood Python King, once sealed by the founder of the Baiyun sect, had broken free from its shackles, though its strength had diminished to the latter stages of the Four Symbols realm. It was more than enough to overwhelm the sect's elders, leaving Yang Jian himself nearly incapacitated, on the brink of death. When Su Bai arrived at the Demon Suppression Tower, the Blood Python King was still wreaking havoc. And over half of the Baiyun sect's 13 elders had suffered casualties. The scene of battle was beyond description. Su Bai, at last, you have come. I have awaited your arrival with great anticipation. I sought you out, yet you chose to ignore me, thinking yourself remarkable. Blood Python King, cripple him. I want to thoroughly torment him, sever his meridians, slice his flesh piece by piece, and force him to consume his own flesh. Upon the appearance of Su Bai, Ming's face contorted into a malevolent grimace, his crimson eyes gleaming with exhilaration as he licked his lips and shouted with fervor. However, the response he received was a ravenous maw of a blood python, which voraciously engulfed Ming whole. The Blood Python King, alert and wary, fixated its gaze upon Su Bai, sensing an undeniable threat emanating from him. Without waiting for Su Bai to make a move, it opened its gaping mouth, unleashing a vast cloud of fetid, toxic mist. Taken aback by the creature's immediate aggression, Su Bai did not relent. He swiftly drew his sword, its sharp aura slicing through the toxic haze, obliterating it and striking the Blood Python King's massive form, leaving a deep gouge. The creature roared in pain, its body convulsing as it let out a thunderous cry, the crimson aura swirling around it coalescing into armor that enveloped its colossal frame. Despite the relentless barrage of 13 sword strikes, the Blood Python King sustained no fatal injuries. Chapter 8. Divine Might manifested the power of the Qingfeng. 13 swords escalated with each blow. Nonetheless, the Blood Python King emerged unscathed, its confidence bolstered by the realization that Su Bai could not penetrate its defenses. That in a sudden display of ferocity, it lashed out with its enormous tail towards Su Bai. Yet, the latter evaded with a grace reminiscent of flowing clouds, his form shifting like the wind. The serpent's tail struck with the speed of lightning, but failed to make contact in his hand. The long sword radiated a chilling brilliance, while behind him, the ethereal head of the Qingming lion absorbed the spiritual energy from the surrounding air, replenishing Su Bai's own energy reserves. At that moment, the Blood Python King's imposing figure became a liability. Despite the knowledge of Su Bai's inferiority in strength, it found itself unable to turn the tide of battle. As time flowed on, the colossal tail of the serpent wreaked havoc on the buildings around them, reducing them to mere dust, while Su Bai deftly dodged, inching closer to his adversary. Child, even if you were to breach my armor, it would be an impossibility. Hence, you would do well to surrender. Without achieving the pinnacle of the Four Symbols realm, you cannot harm me in the slightest. Submit and become nourishment. Seeing Su Bai's unwavering resolve, the Blood Python King, now irate, resorted to mocking him with human speech. With its formidable cultivation, it could easily dominate the entire Baiyun sect, and it sensed no presence of anyone at the peak of the Four Symbols realm. Thus, this confrontation was inevitable. With that thought, the enormous beast began to exhale a dense mist of blood, which gradually enveloped the entirety of Baiyun's sect. Those who came into contact with it found themselves powerless, collapsing in a faint, some even coughing blood, on the brink of death. The air was thick with blood mist, swirling like a myriad of serpents, causing shivers to run down the spines of onlookers. For a moment, Su Bai found himself at a loss. The brute strength of his opponent, combined with its protective blood armor, rendered him incapable of breaking through. However, he could not afford to remain idle. Failure to act would see the Baiyun sect descend into chaos. With a decisive gesture, Su Bai activated the earth heart flame within him. The ground trembled as if something monumental were about to erupt. The next instant, a surge of magma erupted from where the Blood Python King stood, unleashing a wave of searing heat that was merely the prelude. As the earth heart flame was summoned, Su Bai grasped his sword and soared into the air. Behind him, a purple-black radiance coalesced into runes, gradually forming dozens of long swords that shimmered with an eerie glow above his head. With a swift transformation of his technique, these dozens of spiritual swords converged into one. The sky dimmed, and the air resonated with the wailing of countless souls. Hovering in the air, Su Bai's gaze sharpened, and with a flick of his left hand, he summoned the earth heart flame, enveloping the purple long sword beside him. The forces of supreme yang and yin intertwined, creating an almost palpable tension. Without waiting for the energies to fully coalesce, Su Bai directed his attack toward the Blood Python King, declaring, "Soul-severing sword, go." With a swift motion, the soul-severing sword, infused with the earth heart flame, descended from above. Caught off guard, the sword plunged fiercely into the Blood Python King's head. Unlike conventional spiritual swords, the soul-severing sword bypassed physical barriers, transforming into a soul attack that penetrated the creature's very essence. As it breached the divine abode, the earth heart flame erupted. The soul was violently assaulted, and the combined might of the soul-severing sword and the earth heart flame detonated within. The Blood Python King's massive form convulsed uncontrollably, its coppery eyes reflecting sheer terror as it plummeted from the sky, crashing before the demon suppression tower. This strike had wounded its soul, yet the formidable beast still managed to rise, hatred radiating from its gaze. I concede that soul attacks are indeed formidable, but this will not instill fear in me. Prepare yourself. Henceforth, you shall find it impossible to harm me. With a voice imbued with malice, the Blood Python King was taken aback by Su Bai's audacious actions. Nevertheless, it remained undaunted. Despite employing every facet of its swordplay, it could merely inflict superficial wounds, failing to alter the current scenario. Sighing softly, Subai resigned himself to the situation. The disciples who had retreated from the battlefield were engulfed in despair. With the strongest among them, Subai, expressing such disheartenment, the fate of the Bayun sect was all but sealed. The Blood Python King, unhurried in its offensive, recognized that despite its repeated setbacks, most were mere surface injuries. Even its spiritual wounds could heal gradually. It now wished to observe how this insignificant human would plead for mercy. Gradually releasing its grip on the sword, the creature extended its fingers. The crimson sky suddenly stagnated, followed by a tempest that dispelled the blood mist, revealing a dimly lit atmosphere. The spiritual energy of the world swiftly coalesced, forming a colossal vortex that was incessantly consumed by the ethereal lion's head. The earth quaked, and the void split into numerous tiny fissures. Countless runes were siphoned away, while Subai's fingertips transformed into white jade, seemingly capable of dispelling all light in existence. With a thunderous roar, a bolt of lightning reverberated through the air, signaling the imminent descent of something monumental. Sensing the impending danger, the Blood Python King was filled with dread, hastily opening its enormous maw in an attempt to thwart Subai. Standing firm in the air, Subai's expression remained impassive, enveloped in a radiant glow akin to a celestial being descending to the mortal realm, each movement appearing to resonate with the very essence of the universe. As he slowly raised his hand, he pointed at the Blood Python King. The immense figure seemed struck by lightning, momentarily frozen in place. Then, the dark clouds above were torn asunder by an overwhelming force. And all within Bayun sect, including the Blood Python King, looked up in astonishment to witness an unforgettable spectacle that a colossal finger, stretching 100 meters in length, descended from the heavens. The tip, covered in white jade, was intricately inscribed with a myriad of runes, subtly emanating the essence of the Tao. With a thunderous crash, the ground beneath the Blood Python King and the Demon Suppression Tower sank several meters. As a terrifying pressure descended upon them, akin to a mountain bearing down, this strike was unparalleled in history. No previous self-proclaimed genius shone as brightly in this moment. Subai slightly adjusted his fingertip, retracting the colossal jade digit before delivering a horizontal blow to the Blood Python King's chest. The exquisitely compressed force struck the creature's vital point with astonishing speed, only dissipating once it collided with the back mountain of the sect. Reluctantly acknowledging, at present, my most formidable technique is not my swordplay, but rather my finger technique, Subai observed the solitary drop of blood seeping from his fingertip, shaking his head with a wry smile, as if it were a trivial matter. As the blood mist dissipated and the storm clouds receded, all stood frozen in disbelief. Is this truly the end? A dignified late-stage beast of the Four Symbols realm has fallen. What exactly was that strike? A divine manifestation? The very essence of my soul trembled at its might. As the spectators regained their senses, they could not help but engage in fervent discussions. Even the surviving elders, who had narrowly escaped death, displayed expressions of incredulity. Regardless of the circumstances, the saga had finally reached its conclusion. After enduring 2 upheavals caused by demonic beasts, Bayun sect embarked once more on the arduous journey of reconstruction. Within the grand hall of the sect, Subai's eyes flickered with a sense of awareness that I refused to assume the position of the sect's master. Shortly thereafter, he turned directly to Yang Jian, seated at the table, and firmly declined. Yang Jian appeared to have anticipated this response, offering a resigned smile. Let us set aside the matter of the sect master for now. As for your desire to enter the innermost depths of the Demon Suppression Tower, I cannot grant that. Bayun sect is merely the gatekeeper and lacks the qualification to access its deepest sanctum, so abandon this impractical notion. Yang Jian, along with the remaining elders, voiced their dissent against Subai's previous notions. In response, the latter merely smiled in silence, uttering no further words that he felt a mysterious summoning emanating from within the demon-suppressing tower. Chapter 9. Obtaining the sword to suppress demons in the vicinity of the demon-suppressing tower. The ground had sunk several meters due to the colossal finger that pierced through the clouds, and reconstruction was now underway in an orderly manner. Upon arriving at this location, Subai was warmly greeted by numerous disciples, to which he nodded in acknowledgement. His gaze then fell upon the entrance of the demon-suppressing tower, not far away. It must be said that the material of this structure was remarkably sturdy. Even after sustaining a strike from the giant finger, it remained intact. This further suggested that the call from beneath the tower had something unusual about it. With this thought in mind, Subai stepped onto the clouds and vanished from sight. The many disciples accustomed to such phenomena merely assumed he had departed. Unbeknownst to them, Subai's figure appeared within the demon-suppressing tower, and he followed the winding and treacherous path downward, the eerie atmosphere around him growing increasingly dense. As the light gradually faded, replaced by the glow of luminous stones, the scenery transformed into something sinister and frightening. An otherworldly aura of malevolence surged from all directions, endeavoring to influence Subai's mind. He was acutely aware that these were merely the malevolent forces of the tower, attempting to impede his progress. Raising his hand, he unsheathed his sword, severing the encroaching, distorted aura with ease. As he delved deeper, the roars of demonic beasts echoed in his ears. After a while, the staircase before him vanished, indicating that he had reached the bottom of the demon-suppressing tower. Here, an eerie silence reigned, and the air was thick with the stench of blood, reminiscent of the aura emanating from the Blood Python King. Furrowing his brow, he advanced slowly. The luminous stones ahead had long since shattered, yet the area around him remained bright as day, only to be obstructed by a massive bronze door. This door was adorned with strange, ancient inscriptions. A mere glance could induce a throbbing sensation in the mind, as if gazing upon something unspeakable. After briefly closing his eyes to regain composure, his gaze finally settled upon a long sword embedded within the bronze door. Although he did not know how long it had been there, the chilling radiance it emitted was extraordinarily alarming, sharp enough to cleave through all things in existence. Beside it lay remnants of chains that had bound the Blood Python King. This expedition seemed devoid of danger. Subai hesitated for a moment before sheathing his own sword. Judging by the aura emanating from the sword on the bronze door, it was at least a profound-grade treasure, making his own lowly yellow-grade sword appear rather unworthy in comparison. It was indeed time to acquire a new blade. Guided by the principle of not leaving empty-handed, Subai resolved to exchange his sword. After all, as he had ascended to the Four Symbols realm, a yellow-grade sword could no longer withstand his immense spiritual power. With this in mind, he approached the bronze door, surrounded by a faint blue sword intent. Under his deliberate control, the threads of sword intent transformed into a phantom hand, gently descending upon the profound-grade sword. The long dormant sword was instantly activated by the sword intent, the razor-sharp blade emanating a delicate blue glow. With a resounding whoosh, the sound of the sword being drawn echoed through the depths of the demon-suppressing tower. The profound-grade sword, previously embedded in the bronze door, shot forth, moving of its own accord in the air, swirling around before seemingly attempting to breach the void. Naturally, Subai would not allow such a precious treasure to escape easily. He stepped into the void, preparing to catch it. However, an unexpected turn of events occurred. From the pitch-black stone walls of the demon-suppressing tower, a black-red aura began to seep out, rapidly coalescing into the form of an elderly man clad in a black robe, who grasped the profound-grade sword in his hand. Cackling ominously, the figure revealed a pair of ghastly white eyes beneath his disheveled hair. This sudden appearance did not astonish Subai. After all, it was merely a manifestation of the grievances accumulated over generations. To his surprise, this figure transformed into Yongin, the founder of the Baiyun sect. How intriguing to Subai recognized the black-robed elder, having heard Yang Jian speak of him on numerous occasions. Now that he had materialized, Subai intended to pay his respects, for as a disciple of the Baiyun sect, he was, after all, a bearer of its legacy. Yet before he could utter a word, Yongin swung the profound-grade sword in his grip. In an instant, a gust of wind surged from the depths of the tower, transforming into countless sharp blades of wind that enveloped the surroundings, while several blunt, heavy swords came crashing towards Subai with intent to strike. Caught off guard by the sudden assault, Subai quickly tapped the ground with his toes, retreating rapidly at the same time. He unsheathed his own sword, unleashing the Qing Feng 13 swords. The emerald green sword light surged forth, crashing heavily against the blunt swords, causing them to explode into fragments. However, this was merely the first wave of attacks. Yongin, wielding the profound-grade sword, did not channel sword intent, instead attacking Subai with wild abandon, cleaving the ground and leaving deep gashes, a testament to his terrifying sharpness. The sound of metal clashing echoed continuously as Su Bai retreated, his low-grade yellow sword nearly shattered under the relentless strikes. At that moment, he finally realized that the Yongin before him seemed to have lost all awareness. Otherwise, how could he fail to recognize the techniques of his own sect? With this realization, Su Bai ceased holding back. With a flick of his finger, he activated the Earth Heart Flame art and employed the flowing cloud technique, almost instantaneously arriving behind Yang and Baiyun Guaniri. With a finger thrust imbued with scorching power, he struck fiercely at Yang An's back. With a tearing sound, flesh was rent asunder. With just a single finger, he shattered the form that rivaled the Four Symbols realm, causing the black mist enveloping Yang and to be drawn back into the demon-suppressing tower, leaving behind a figure radiating a faint blue light. With the might of his strike, Su Bai finally exhaled in relief. 3 days of cultivation had granted him precise mastery over the Baiyun Guaniri's power. Now, as Yang An's consciousness gradually returned, he spotted the lingering spiritual energy in the air, prompting a flicker of thought, and no longer exuding any threatening demeanor. His gaze was filled with a sense of approval, akin to that of an elder caring for a younger generation. With Yang An's mind clear, Su Bai refrained from delivering a final blow. After all, without Yang An, there would be no Baiyun sect as it stood today. He was a figure deserving of respect. Gazing down at the sword in his hand, Yang An seemed to ponder something before extending the sword towards Su Bai, as if implying he should take it, having anticipated a fierce battle. Su Bai was taken aback by this unexpected turn of events. Nevertheless, with a profound grade sword before him, he had no reason to be polite. He respectfully bowed and accepted the sword. This sword suppresses demons. This bronze door must never be opened. Otherwise, unforeseen calamities will ensue. Remember, after entrusting the sword to Su Bai, Yang An gazed at the bronze door behind him, a look of fear crossing his face, as if something terrifying lurked within. Chapter 10. The Beast Mountain Range. The corpse ghost sects. Chen Shang. His words piqued Su Bai's curiosity. However, before he could inquire further, Yang An, having lost his strength, dissipated into the void. The tranquility returned. Su Bai stared at the bronze door, as imposing as a millennia-old boulder, finally comprehending why the Four Symbols realm beasts had been arranged to suppress this location. A place deemed worthy of such attention from the founding ancestors must not be approached lightly. With the Blood Python King already slain, Su Bai knew he must venture forth to retrieve another Four Symbols realm Demon King before everything could return to normal. Finding a Four Symbols realm Demon King would prove challenging. It seemed a trip to the Beast Mountain Range was in order. After much contemplation, he ultimately decided on the location to capture the Demon King. There was no longer a need for exploration here, so Su Bai promptly departed. Meanwhile, at the Beast Mountain Range, which stretched nearly 10,000 miles, teeming with demonic beasts, it was a prime location for most cultivators to harvest materials. Within this realm, the Black Rock sect was established. That if Baiyun sect was renowned for its swordsmanship, then the Black Rock sect was infamous for its sinister soul-forging practices. Having returned to the Black Rock sect after plotting against his fellow disciples, Zhang Bai found himself in a precarious position. The cost of consuming his peers and invoking forbidden techniques had led to a regression in his cultivation to the mid-stage of the Yuanxi realm. With his current strength, any further accomplishment seemed utterly impossible. Consequently, he bid farewell to the sect and sought refuge in a nearby emerging force, the Corpse Ghost sect. Zhang Bai, you wish to join my Corpse Ghost sect? The young master of the Corpse Ghost sect, the second spokesperson of the entire sect, regarded Zhang Bai with a playful glint in his eyes. The latter could only smile awkwardly, for with his diminished cultivation and affliction, he had no choice but to endure the ridicule, knowing that to improve, he must rely on the Corpse Ghost sect's techniques. The young master toyed with him. Zhang Bai could only suppress his frustration. Nodding in agreement, the young master, with a smirk on his face, regarded the man before him thoughtfully. Joining my Corpse Ghost sect is not out of the question. Now is a time when we require talent. However, owing to your past affiliation with the Black Rock sect, you must capture the female swordsman of the Heavenly Waters sect, Zhu Linger, to gain entry. With his chin in hand, he chuckled softly as he put forth a request. Zhang Bai was momentarily taken aback. Although he nodded in agreement, he couldn't help but curse inwardly that it was evident that the other party intended to exploit him. Yet he had no choice but to accept the task at hand. As he rode through the Demon Beast mountain range, Su Bai hummed a cheerful tune. The Baiyin sect was still in the process of reconstruction, so he felt no urgency, having descended the mountain. He intended to savor this unfamiliar world. Senior Su Bai? Just as Su Bai was enjoying the sun, a melodious voice rang out from behind him. Turning around, he was surprised to see Zhu Ling'er, whom he had encountered during the new student recruitment. Miss Zhu has also come to the Demon Beast mountain range. He hadn't expected to meet her in such a place and smiled lightly, inquiring with a chuckle. After all, Zhu Ling'er was strikingly beautiful, with ruby lips, pearly teeth, and skin as fair as mutton fat. Her figure was alluringly curvaceous, so he had no intention of being rude. Indeed, the sect has arranged for me to go out and train. However, the task is rather burdensome, as they insist I must capture at least one Yuan High Realm Demon Beast. Alas, my life is at stake as well. Upon mentioning this, Zhu Ling couldn't help but vent her frustrations. Despite her incessant complaints, Su Bai found her chatter not at all bothersome. Since that is the case, why not join me on this journey? After some contemplation, he chose to extend the invitation. After all, having a talkative companion along the way was not a bad thing. Yes, the more, the merrier. Recalling Su Bai's performance in Lingxiao City, Zhu Ling naturally wouldn't refuse and readily agreed with a beaming smile. Their companionship brought much joy as they ventured deeper into the Demon Beast mountain range. Along the way, they encountered several Yuan High Realm Demon Beasts, but none met Su Bai's criteria. Brother Su Bai. Over there. As they chatted, the two had grown quite familiar, and Zhu Ling'er, sensing something, pointed ahead with her delicate hand. Following her gesture, they spotted a several-meter-tall, human-faced Spider King retreating into a massive lair. From the aura it emanated, it was evident that its strength was at least mid-stage for Elephant Realm, precisely the target Su Bai sought to hunt. Wait here for me, to his surprise. He had quickly found a suitable Demon King. So Su Bai instructed, preparing to take action. However, before he could approach, he noticed that the human-faced Spider King appeared exceedingly vigilant, as if guarding something. After sniffing the air, a fragrant scent of fruit wafted by. Just as he was about to advance, a cold wind swept from behind, followed by a towering shadow lunging toward them that Su Bai had no choice but to abandon his horse and pull Zhu Ling'er back. Boom! As the dust settled, a gaunt figure, with a body as hard as steel, emerged before them, a zombie. The murderous intent radiating from it indicated it had undoubtedly claimed the lives of many past cultivators. If left unchecked, such a calamity could become a significant threat over the years. With a swift motion, Su Bai drew his sword. The demon suppression sword was exceptionally sharp. In a single stroke, he cleaved the 100-year-old zombie in two, shattering its inner core. From the distance, a group of individuals appeared, led by Chen Shang, who was hunting demon beasts with his subordinates. However, upon witnessing the scene, his expression darkened instantly to ask the young master of the Corpse Ghost sect. It was the first time his meticulously crafted Corpse King had been destroyed. Young master, look at the person beside Zhu Ling. He seems unremarkable, yet he must possess some treasure. Or how could he slice through the body of a 100-year-old Corpse King? Zhang Bai, who was accompanying Chen Shang, was taken aback upon seeing Su Bai and couldn't help but stoke the flames of enmity, with old grievances and new resentments intertwined, along with the task of capturing Zhu Ling'er. He would not let this opportunity slip by. This provocation only deepened Chen Shang's desire for vengeance, especially with Su Bai and Zhu Ling'er together, intensifying his murderous intent. Kid, you are quite audacious to dare venture this deep into the Demon Beast mountain range with just the two of you. Chen Shang sneered, gazing at Su Bai, whose ethereal demeanor and captivating presence only fueled his irritation. That I care not for your intentions. That woman stays, and you may leave. Despite the fact that Su Bai had slain his 100-year-old Corpse King. Upon seeing Zhu Ling'er's visage, Chen Shang was hardly inclined to deliberate further. He simply wished to claim her for himself. The sudden appearance of this group took Su Bai aback. Throughout their journey, they had not crossed paths with anyone else, leaving him bewildered by the hostility directed at them. However, as they had already grown familiar, Su Bai would not allow Zhu Ling'er to be taken away. Roar! Just as he prepared to take action and teach Chen Shang a lesson, a distant roar of a beast echoed. In an instant, the birds and beasts were thrown into a panic to the astonishment of the onlookers. The surrounding demon beasts erupted into chaos, with countless Yuan-Hai realm beasts and dozens of 4-elephant realm beasts charging past Subai and into the lair of the human-faced Spider King. Chapter 11. The castrated Chun Ming. The earth trembled uncontrollably. Countless demon beasts seemed irresistibly drawn to the lair of the human-faced Spider King, surging forth in a relentless tide, but Subai and his companions, positioned not far from the lair, could not evade the impact. The Corpse Ghost Sect members quickly gathered, erecting a barrier with their spiritual energy to withstand the assault of the demon beasts. In contrast, Subai remained unfazed, enveloped in a serene mist, drawing his demon suppression sword as he wrapped an arm around Zhu Ling's slender waist, unleashing his sword intent. The illusory lion shadow conjured by the Qingming lion decision fervently absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy. Some demon beasts caught off guard by the sword's aura were instantly reduced to mere remnants scattered across the ground. The relentless tide of beasts appeared endless, amidst the encirclement of the Corpse Ghost Sect. Chen Shang cast a cold glare at Subai before turning his attention to the lair not far away. That a wave of gray death energy surged forth, cracking the ground, as a millennium-old golden corpse with 4-elephant realm strength rose from the earth, exuding a terrifying aura that even frightened many demon beasts. Zhang Bai, take this golden corpse and charge into the human-faced Spider King's lair. As long as you secure the treasures within, you need not capture Zhu Ling. Chen Shang coldly instructed, handing Zhang Bai the talisman that controlled the golden corpse. The treasures within that lair, which had provoked the stampede of beasts, were undoubtedly of rare and extraordinary value. He was determined to possess them. Though reluctant to be used as a pawn, Zhang Bai, considering his current level of cultivation, saw no way to refuse and gritted his teeth as he accepted the talisman. Amidst the beast tide, Subai cradled Zhu Linger, effortlessly evading the incoming assaults. Yet his gaze remained fixed on Zhang Bai not far away. Brother Subai, there are treasures in the lair. From the aura emanating, it is likely the legendary Hisho Wu, which if obtained could aid cultivators in transcending their limits and enhancing their innate talents, that we must not allow them to get there first. Though being held in his embrace was somewhat awkward, Zhu Linger, having caught the earlier whiff of fruit fragrance, hurriedly alerted Subai. The latter finally understood why Chen Shang had brought such a large entourage, although he was unclear how Zhang Bai had infiltrated their midst. The extraordinary treasure must not fall into their hands. Realizing this, a glint of coldness flashed in Subai's eyes as he executed a swift strike with his demon suppression sword. With a swift motion, azure sword energy erupted, cleaving through the demon beasts in his path while delivering a heavy blow to Zhang Bai's advance. One strike was insufficient. Subai unleashed a flurry of sword shadows, sending hundreds of sword auras surging forth once more. Left with no choice, Zhang Bai had to hide behind the golden corpse to evade harm. With their advance thwarted, Chen Shang's fury boiled over. Attack, he pointed at Subai, commanding the disciples of the Corpse Ghost Sect to engage. In an instant, grayish-white energy radiated outward, cracking the ground as skeletal hands, glimmering with cold light, emerged in the blink of an eye. A horde of zombies appeared before Subai, many clad in the garb of the Corpse Ghost Sect, unmistakably former powerful members of the sect, now reduced to this state. While this was undeniably inhumane, their strength was evident. Thousands of Yin-Yang realm zombies, hundreds of Yuan-Hai realm silver corpses, and 8 4-elephant realm golden corpses surged forth to confront Subai, before Chen Shang could give the order. These undead creatures lunged forward, launching an assault in an attempt to encircle the two. The onslaught of thousands of zombies was indeed overwhelming, and coupled with the beast tide, Subai couldn't help but furrow his brow. Hold on tight, he softly instructed the lovely figure in his arms, then activated the flowing cloud movement technique. The pale mist effectively concealed his movements, allowing his figure to become elusive, making it difficult even for the undead to catch him. With the demon suppression sword in hand, he danced it through the air, thoroughly cleaving the first wave of Yin-Yang realm zombies that charged at him. However, the silver and golden corpses launched surprise attacks from the side. Their bodies, as hard as meteorites, could absorb a significant amount of sword energy damage. Though these undead could not inflict any harm, their sheer numbers made it challenging for Subai to respond effectively. The spewing corpse poison, possessing a potent corrosive quality, began to erode his garments, despite his ethereal form remaining elusive. Haha, young man, with my countless corpse kings launching an assault, I wonder how long you can endure. If you are wise, surrender and become my slave. Furthermore, if you present that beauty to me, I might consider sparing your insignificant life." Observing him being besieged and unable to extricate himself, Qinshan could not help but laugh maniacally. His lascivious gaze fixated on Zhu Linger as he mockingly made his suggestion. After all, the current situation appeared to be under his control. Achieving victory without a fight would indeed be the most favorable outcome. Zhu Linger, held tightly at the waist, cast a worried glance at Su Bai. Given the urgency of the situation, it would be understandable if the enemy abandoned her. She had already resigned herself to the possibility of being handed over to that treacherous Qinshan. I refuse." Unexpectedly, Su Bai, standing beside her, merely let out a cold laugh. Subsequently, a radiant light flickered from his fingertips as his sword transformed into white jade, with countless talismans floating in the air around him. With a whoosh, accompanied by the sound of something piercing through the air, a dazzling beam of white light shot forth, coalescing behind Su Bai into a colossal jade finger that swiftly pierced towards Qinshan. The momentum of this strike was overwhelming. Despite having two golden corpses blocking his path, Qinshan remained uncertain whether he could intercept in that fleeting moment of hesitation. Crack! The once impenetrable golden corpse was instantly pierced. Severed in two, the undiminished force of that white light struck directly at Qinshan's lower body, shattering his manhood and rendering him a eunuch, a nightmare for countless men. Da-da! A heart-wrenching scream echoed through the mountains and forests. Qinshan clutched his groin, his back arched like a boiled shrimp, his entire being drenched in cold sweat. This all transpired so swiftly that even the disciples of the corpse demon sect beside him failed to react in time. Damn it! Who can kill him? I will reward you with a golden corpse of the Four Symbols realm. The excruciating pain had driven Qinshan to the brink of madness, his face contorted with rage. His eyes blazing with murderous intent, he pointed accusingly at Su Bai, his voice a furious accusation. The heir of the corpse demon sect had become a eunuch. He could not swallow this humiliation. The astonishing nature of that strike had instilled a sense of trepidation among many of the corpse demon sect's disciples. However, upon hearing the promise of a golden corpse from the Four Symbols realm, their breaths quickened, and they hastily began to form hand seals that the next moment. The previously subdued zombies, their eyes turning blood red, surged forward in a frenzied assault against Su Bai and Zhu Linger, intent on tearing them to shreds. Amidst the fierce onslaught of beast tides and corpse tides, even though he had severely injured the enemy, Su Bai was compelled to retreat with Zhu Linger to the lair of the human-faced Spider King. Here, he could limit the number of foes he faced and catch his breath. However, the terrifying residual energy from his earlier attack, combined with the scent of blood, had fully awakened the ferocity of the beast tide. Despite knowing it was a futile endeavor, they charged recklessly, with the corpse tide controlled by the corpse demon sect also mingling among them. Even upon entering the lair, Su Bai could not escape being besieged. The relentless tide of enemies continued to surge forth, and Su Bai's demon-slaying sword never ceased its dance. Although the blade was exceedingly sharp, dispatching one foe after another beneath the Four Symbols realm. The sheer number of adversaries forced him to continually retreat. As he found himself within the lair, having just repelled a silver corpse, Su Bai intended to find a place for Zhu Linger to hide, but was momentarily stunned by the dense sea of crimson spider eyes before him. The human-faced Spider King and its offspring were glaring hungrily in their direction. Behind them, guarding a herb exuding a faint green aura, undoubtedly the millennium-old Hisho Wu, which appeared not yet fully matured. They refrained from launching an attack. However, the current situation was decidedly unfavorable for Su Bai and Zhu Linger, with the corpse beast surging from the front and the human-faced Spider King glaring from behind. Any engagement with either side would be perilous. Su Bai might have been confident in his ability to vanquish a single foe outside, but within the lair, they found themselves in a precarious position, especially with Zhu Linger at his side, making it impossible to resolve the crisis easily. Another strike pierced through a zombie's skull, and with no time to wipe his brow, Su Bai swiftly dispatched another pinnacle beast from the Yuan Sea realm into pieces. The mingling of corpse fluid and beast blood was gradually absorbed by his sword, that a formless wave of energy radiated from him, sensing its host's determination to slay corpses and exterminate demons. The system was processing, Congratulations, host. You have comprehended the techniques of slaying corpses and severing demons. Please continue your efforts. Just as Subai pondered how to resolve the pressing dilemma, the innate power within him manifested once more, allowing him to grasp two sword techniques at the critical moment that a profound sword intent surged forth from within him, enveloping the demon-slaying sword, only to gradually dissipate. Yet Subai's aura suddenly transformed, emanating the sharpness of a divine sword standing proudly between heaven and earth. Beside him, Zhu Linger repelled a Yuan Sea realm zombie, her complexion pale. She had no time to concern herself with anything else. Her grip on the long sword tightened, ready for a life-or-death struggle, for if they faltered, neither of them would survive. As the azure spiritual energy surged, the air rippled like crashing waves, making the entire lair feel damp. Prepared to expend her spiritual energy against the onslaught, Zhu Linger was still caught off guard when she felt a warm, reassuring hand clasp her own. Turning to look, it was Subai's composed visage. "No need. That do you believe in me?" Shaking his head slightly, a serene smile emerged on his face, exuding confidence amidst the chaos. Though she did not comprehend his calm demeanor, Zhu Linger had developed a certain emotional bond with Subai over the past few days and thus chose to trust him, nodding in agreement. In that moment, a wave of energy burst forth, scattering in all directions. The surrounding stones and dust were thrown into the air, and the once advancing beasts were repelled by this force, crashing against the nearby rock wall. Even the zombies could not approach within a hair's breadth. At the center of this tempest, Subai stood resolutely, his demon-slaying sword lowered. "That I possess a sword that can vanquish evil and sever demons. I also wield a sword that can extinguish calamities and destroy deities." The tip of his sword slowly rose. His voice was cold, resonating not like that of a mere mortal, but akin to the celestial tones of a divinity descending upon the world. Two distinctly different sword intents radiated from his being. The demon-slaying sword trembled slightly, producing a clear, melodious sound. The very fabric of space seemed to quiver, the ground beneath trembling uncontrollably as the spiritual energy in the air rapidly coalesced around Subai, merging with the sword. What of breaking through in battle? With countless corpse kings gathered, and the four symbols realm golden corpses encircling you, the disparity in strength is not something you can compensate for. Such overwhelming sword intent could not be ignored, even by Chen Shang, yet he still clutched his groin, the pain inflaming his nerves, as he mockingly taunted Subai to him. Even if the opponent broke through, they would still not stand a chance against the corpse demon sect. After all, the corpse tide alone was sufficient to crush any four symbols realm expert. "Did I end the face of derision?" Subai merely smiled in silence. Slaying corpses, severing demons, his voice, cold as the sound of ice cracking in winter, surged with righteous energy as two sword shadows emerged behind him. As his words fell, scarlet sword energy sliced through the air like withering peach blossoms, claiming the lives of countless beasts before they could even emit a cry of despair. Another beam of pale, golden sword light danced gracefully, akin to a radiant wheel gliding through the air, its sharp aura dispersing widely, encompassing the entire lair's passageway. Wherever it passed, the corpse tide erupted in dazzling flames, their hardened forms dissolving, unable to resist, vanishing entirely from existence. Only 8 golden corpses of the four symbols realm, along with several multi-headed four symbols realm beast kings, managed to withstand these astonishing strikes, retreating in unison, green corpse fluid and crimson blood pooling beneath them, their injuries severe enough to expose bone. In merely 2 strikes, the assault of the beast tide was obliterated. Furthermore, in just those 2 strikes, the corpse demon sect's previously overwhelming advantage evaporated. Even if the golden corpses still possessed the strength to fight, they posed no threat to Subai. After all, with just one more strike, the pride of the corpse demon sect, their golden corpses, would be severed in twain. Everyone was so stunned by those 2 strikes that they forgot to breathe. Zhang Bai was equally astonished, unable to fathom the terrifying power Subai possessed. Zhu Linger, beside him, gazed with wide-eyed amazement, struggling to comprehend how someone who appeared to be her age could possess such overwhelming strength. Yet, the most difficult to accept was Chen Shang. With their immense advantage dissipated, it was tantamount to facing the threat of death. "Impossible, impossible! I want you dead! I want you dead!" A voice, nearly maddened, erupted, exclaiming the impossible. Subsequently gritting his teeth, he summoned the internal energy within him and, with a sputter, expelled a mouthful of vital blood. To his astonishment, the severely injured golden corpse was once again roused. Qinshan intended to forcibly awaken it, aiming to reverse the situation. Yet any discerning observer understood that the tide had irrevocably turned. The cultivators of the corpse ghost sect, along with Zhang Bai, swiftly approached, delivering a precise strike to his neck, sealing his internal spiritual power. Without further ado, they dragged Qinshan away, making a hasty retreat to their lair, prepared to report the events to their sect leader. Chapter 13. The unique uses of Millennium. He showed Wu the retreat of the corpse ghost sect was anticipated. It was not until their figures had completely vanished that Su Bai's complexion turned pale, and he knelt on one knee, barely managing to remain upright with the aid of the demon-suppressing sword. Behind him, the azure lion shadow voraciously consumed the spiritual energy replenishing from the outside, striving to replenish its earlier depletion. Once it had regained some strength, he rose again, as if nothing had changed. Even with his internal energy dwindling, aside from the corpse ghost sect, a dozen or so ominous four-symbol realm beast kings lurked, their gazes fixed upon him. If it were just himself, he could make a swift exit. Yet Zhu Linger remained by his side, AT present. He held his head high, while Zhu Linger boldly advanced, disregarding the numerous beast kings, heading straight into the depths of the lair. As they passed, the uncertain beast kings, unsure of Su Bai's remaining combat capability, dared not make a rash move. The earlier strike from the demon's severing sword had awakened them from their frenzy. Moreover, having ascended to the four-symbol realm, they had developed intelligence and naturally did not wish to gamble with their lives. Clutching the corner of Su Bai's garment, Zhu Ling dared not make a sound. She could not comprehend why he was so audacious. After much contemplation, she chose silence, not wishing to disrupt the delicate stalemate. The two ignored the surrounding demon spiders and approached the human-faced Spider King, tasked with guarding the Millennium. He Shou Wu. As a beast king of the four-symbol realm, it regarded Su Bai with cold disdain. The might of the previous two strikes was something it acknowledged it could not withstand, yet as a ruler, it was unwilling to concede easily. Sensing the gaze of 8 eyes upon him, Su Bai casually turned his body. In an instant, the unique sword intent of the demon severing sword surged forth. The fierce killing intent crashing against the massive visage of the human-faced Spider King. The next moment, a tremendous roar reverberated throughout the lair. Under the impact of the sound waves, Su Bai remained unfazed, revealing no emotional turbulence. Like a release of pent-up frustration, the human-faced Spider King disregarded all else, issuing commands in its mind, and quickly led the multitude of demon spiders in a rapid retreat from the lair. The quaking of its 8 colossal legs betrayed its profound terror. With its lead, those four-symbol realm beast kings, who had previously been restless, reluctantly chose to withdraw. The vast lair was swiftly emptied, leaving only the corpses of zombies and beasts lying silently on the ground, silently recounting the events that had transpired. Once the threat was lifted, Su Bai finally breathed a sigh of relief, nearly losing grip on the demon-suppressing sword. In that critical moment, he had utilized the rare recovery of his spiritual power to slightly activate the demon's severing sword, which had frightened off the group of beast kings. Otherwise, the outcome of the next encounter remained uncertain. Fortunately, he had placed the right bet. Gazing at the Millennium, he Shou Wu quietly standing within the lair. Its aura caused Su Bai to shudder with excitement. It seemed this battle had indeed been worthwhile. "Brother Su Bai, are you all right?" Zhu Linger inquired anxiously, rushing to support him as she noticed his unsteady state. The display of prowess he had just exhibited had genuinely captivated her heart, leading her to be quite concerned that it's nothing. When will the Millennium, he Shou Wu, be ripe? He waved his hand, eager to hasten the process. After a brief moment of recovery, he posed his question. Finding an opportunity to be of use, Zhu Linger wasted no time and hurriedly approached to examine the plant. The aura began to retract, and the fruit was gradually maturing. It was the perfect time for harvesting. Using her divine sense to probe, her face flushed with excitement as she relayed the good news to Su Bai. Upon hearing that it was ripe, he stepped forward to observe that it was then that Su Bai discovered the Millennium he Shou Wu before him was actually growing in a twin form. Previously, he had pondered how to divide it with Zhu Linger, but now that dilemma was resolved. One for each of them. I don't know how to harvest it. "You should do it," he said, a smile gracing his face as he allocated the task. Zhu Linger was pleasantly surprised to find she would receive a plant, her face brimming with joy. With a flick of her spiritual energy as a blade, she carefully severed the root of the millennium he Shou Wu and then instructed Su Bai on how to consume it. Looking at the root, now free of soil and exuding a crystalline sheen with an enticing fragrance, Su Bai tilted his head and swallowed it whole. It must be said that the treasures of heaven and earth seem to possess an almost instantaneous dissolving effect upon ingestion. Su Bai felt a surge of heat within him almost immediately. Following that, a fiery sensation ignited in his lower abdomen, and an insatiable passion surged within him, the atmosphere around them becoming palpably thick. Zhu Ling's cheeks flushed crimson, her eyes swimming with tenderness as an undeniable intimacy enveloped the two. In the end, Su Bai remained oblivious to the effects of the millennium he Shou Wu. The fire within him flared, hesitating due to the scant amount of spiritual power remaining. He could not resist the drug's impact and swiftly pressed Zhu Linger beneath him. The latter offered no resistance. Though she was aware that the millennium he Shou Wu could cleanse one's innate talent, the idea that it could incite such passion unexpectedly encountering this demon king once again took Su Bai by surprise. However, as he gazed at the shadow in the sky, his expression instantly darkened. Above him, a colossal bat with the essence of a divine heart was flapping its immense wings. Judging by the aura it exuded, it was likely a true demon emperor. Their intentions seemed remarkably clear as they headed straight towards Su Bai. Who would have thought that the man-faced Spider King was merely a gatekeeper? This hired hand has foolishly guarded the millennium he Shou Wu for other demon beasts for 1,000 years. A sense of crisis surged within Su Bai, prompting him to silently curse in his heart that at this moment, escaping the creature's perception was no longer feasible. Thus, he unsheathed the demon-suppressing sword, bracing himself for a fierce battle. As the Bat Demon Emperor descended slowly, its gaze fell upon Su Bai and his companion, that it could sense the lingering aura of the millennium he Shou Wu emanating from them. Point 2 Little children. Have you voluntarily surrendered, or have you been consumed by me? With its copper bell-sized eyes slightly rotating, it spoke human words laced with disdain. Although the millennium he Shou Wu had been devoured by it, as long as it swallowed them, it could refine the residual medicinal power once more. Hence, the Bat Demon Emperor could not allow them to leave. Simultaneously, a group of the Corpse Ghost sect was hastily approaching. The middle-aged man at the forefront bore a frosty expression, emanating an aura that warned others to stay away. In the face of the Bat Demon Emperor's threat, Su Bai remained unfazed. He suddenly drew his sword, channeling his spiritual energy in an instant. The Qinfeng 13 swords at the pinnacle of the Great Perfection realm surged forth, coalescing into a single strike that shattered the void. His astonishment. Not only did the Bat Demon Emperor show no fear, but it also dared to retaliate, leaving it momentarily unprepared. With a sharp sound, a gash appeared on its massive neck, causing Su Bai to furrow his brow. It was known that through refining the millennium he Shou Wu, his realm had already ascended to the peak of the Four Symbols realm, and the Qinfeng 13 swords could effortlessly slay demon beasts of the same level. Yet upon striking the Bat Demon Emperor, it merely left a trace of blood. The disparity between their realms was indeed as vast as a chasm. Despite the pain from its neck, the Bat Demon Emperor paid it no mind and instead fixed its gaze firmly upon the demon-suppressing sword in Su Bai's hand. The demon-suppressing sword. As if ignited by fury, the previously calm creature could not help but let out a howl that echoed through the skies. Its crimson maw opened wide, unleashing an endless wave of purple-black poison mist that rapidly spread, withering trees and cracking the earth beneath. The overwhelming toxic fog even caused the man-faced Spider King, a fellow creature of poison, to tremble on the ground, its 8 legs curling in fear. The pressure of the divine heart realm surged forth, turning any demon beast unable to escape into a mere pulp. Upon witnessing the Bat Demon Emperor's reaction to the demon-suppressing sword, Su Bai's eyes narrowed, and understanding dawned upon him that it was evident that the Crow Demon King and the Blood Python King had once been subordinates of this Bat Demon Emperor, only to be captured by the Baiyun sect and turned into guardians of the Bronze Door. Now that the Bat Demon Emperor had sensed a similar aura, its agitation was hardly surprising. At that moment, the Corpse Ghost sect arrived at the edge of the Demon Beast mountain range. As they drew near, they felt a terrifying force descending from above. Quick, set up the 10,000 corpses formation. The middle-aged man at the forefront, none other than the sect leader Chen Lai, was also a practitioner of the Four Symbols realm. However, upon sensing the pressure from the Bat Demon Emperor, he hastily instructed his subordinates. The others, somewhat perplexed, nonetheless began their preparations. The Corpse Ghost sect had deployed its strongest forces, consisting of 15 legendary golden corpses of the Four Symbols realm, alongside other zombies, positioned at their respective formation nodes. The ground was covered in black soil, with an ominous aura continuously surging, as if the very void was being split apart. Then a massive purple formation rose up, causing a commotion that could be felt even hundreds of meters away by Subai. Truly, it was a case of receiving a pillow just when one felt sleepy, that a smile crept upon his lips as he recognized the loathsome aura. It was unmistakably from the Corpse Ghost sect. With a plan forming in his mind, he had no desire to linger with the Bat Demon Emperor. He raised his hand, unleashing another strike of the Qinfeng 13 swords, fully aware of its might. The Bat Demon Emperor naturally waved its gigantic wings to defend. The sword energy collided with the massive wings, gradually dissipating into flowing light. When it searched for Subai again, it found him cradling Zhu Linger as they soared into the distance. So this is the extent of the Divine Heart Realm, isn't it? Stay in your desolate mountain range. I shan't accompany you any longer. Surrounded by flowing clouds, Subai's figure danced upon the treetops. A mocking smile adorning his face, that he maintained his speed while unleashing another wave of sword energy behind him. Big Brother Su, aren't you provoking the Bat Demon Emperor even further? Zhu Linger asked. Her brow furrowed with concern as she looked back at the distant Bat Demon Emperor. After all, he could leave, so why provoke it? I'm making my exit, and I must deliver a grand gift to the Corpse Ghost sect. Hearing his beloved's concern, Subai merely playfully pinched her nose, then showcased a gentle smile, directing his gaze toward the formation that was now operational in the distance. The Bat Demon Emperor, still behind, once again used its enormous wings to block the sword energy attack, its eyes ablaze with fury. IT had dwelled within the Demon Beast mountain range for so long that it was oblivious to the relationships between human sects, assuming they were all part of the same faction. Now, seeing Subai soaring towards the Grand Formation, the Bat Demon Emperor naturally concluded that he was allied with Chen Lai, the sect leader of the Corpse Ghost sect. Chapter 15. Cross-Soul Extermination. Severing demons. The fluctuations from afar were instantly perceived by Chen Lai, that he turned abruptly, only to find Subai, wreathed in clouds, drawing closer. Before he could react, his son Qinsheng pulled out a bone whip, aiming to bring the airborne Subai crashing down. With a crack, the fierce bone whip echoed through the air, unleashing a fierce gust that forced Subai to involuntarily dodge, shifting his position. In the unfortunate turn of events, the attack struck the pursuing Bat Demon Emperor from behind. As the saying goes, the impact may not be great, but the humiliation is profound. That as a Demon Emperor of the Divine Heart Realm, it had not faced such a disgraceful attack from a mere Four Symbols realm creature in ages. Its dignity would not allow it to let this slide. That a tremendous roar erupted from the Bat Demon Emperor, its voice carrying an underlying meaning. That in the next moment, the mountains and forests trembled as all the demon kings under the Bat Demon Emperor responded, converging from all directions to obliterate the Corpse Ghost sect members who were setting up their formation. Yet, the Bat Demon Emperor was not yet satisfied. The IT suddenly flapped its wings, drawing the spiritual energy in the air to form a spiritual energy hurricane that surged forth. Faced with this sudden assault, Chen Lai's face darkened ominously. His 10,000 corpses formation had yet to deal with Subai, and now he was forced to change targets. That it was known that the Bat Demon Emperor's strength was at the Divine Heart Realm. He would never wish to confront it unless absolutely necessary. Initially believing he could sandwich Subai and force him into defeat, his plans had now crumbled. Reluctantly, the 10,000 corpses formation pivoted, preparing to meet the attack from the Divine Heart Realm. Boom! A terrifying explosion reverberated as the spiritual energy hurricane collided with the 10,000 corpses formation. The seemingly solid formation was assailed by razor-sharp winds. Had it not been for the sturdy bodies of the zombies and the continuous infusion of spiritual energy from Chen Lai and his companions, it would have long since shattered. Even so, the group exerted their utmost effort just to withstand a casual attack from the Bat Demon Emperor. Subai, ethereal as an immortal, landed on a distant treetop with Zhu Linga. watching the scene before him with great interest. The demon-suppressing sword in his hand hung loosely, yet its sword energy permeated the air. With a flick of his wrist, countless sword blades scattered and vanished among the treetops. Thud, thud, thud. The sound of heavy objects hitting the ground echoed as several bat demon beasts of the Yuanhai realm fell from the concealed branches, meeting their demise on the spot. Just as she was about to speak and offer a warning, Zhu Linger turned to see Su Bai's confident smile. Hold on tight, with a more serious gaze. Su Bai cautioned before the clouds swirling beneath him scattered. In the next moment, the treetop they occupied was bombarded by countless demonic, energy-infused attacks that he moved with the grace of a leisurely stroll through his garden, evading the onslaught of numerous demon beasts below with his cloud-swirling technique. Yet, no matter how he dodged, he never strayed too far from the members of the Corpse Ghost sect. After all, this splendid performance would be a waste not to witness. Noticing the unusual commotion behind him, Chen Lai turned to find Su Bai's intrigued expression. Damn you. If it weren't for you, my Corpse Ghost sect wouldn't be targeted by the Divine Heart Realm Bat Demon Emperor. If I survive this, I will surely flay you and turn you into a zombie. While he was seething with anger, he finally cast aside his image as the sect leader and began to hurl curses at Su Bai, who was watching the spectacle from afar. Upon hearing that his son had been castrated, he had nearly mobilized all the resources of the Corpse Demon sect. Yet now, faced with the assault of the Bat Demon Emperor, out of the 15 golden corpses, only 5 remained, with countless other zombies lost. Even if they retreated now, their vitality would be severely depleted. How could this not infuriate him? Of course, the outcome of such a significant sacrifice was that the Bat Demon Emperor was being besieged, its crimson blood ceaselessly dripping. Enduring such humiliation, the Demon Emperor was naturally consumed by a tidal wave of rage that IT had not anticipated that this peculiar formation possessed such terrifying lethality. Had it not been for its formidable strength, it would have likely been slain on the spot. Therefore, the Bat Demon Emperor's gaze toward the Qin father and son was filled with overwhelming murderous intent that if I do not eliminate you today, I am unworthy of the title of Demon Emperor. Its colossal form shimmered with an eerie purple light as it summoned the power of its bloodline, intending to shatter the 10,000 corpses formation entirely. However, an unexpected turn of events occurred. Originally observing from a distance, Su Bai, clad in white, surrounded by swirling clouds, appeared as if descended from the heavens under the sunlight, effortlessly positioning himself between the Bat Demon Emperor and the 10,000 corpses formation. Below, Chen Lai's eyes blazed with fury, wishing to rush forward with his sword and rend Su Bai into 1,000 pieces. Equally enraged was the Bat Demon Emperor, who, despite its injuries, still retained the dignity of a demon lord. Little monkey, do you truly think you can hide for eternity? What? Have you finally mustered the courage to face me in open combat? With a sardonic smile, the Bat Demon Emperor regarded the suddenly appearing Su Bai, as if looking at a cowardly weakling. Yet Su Bai remained unfazed. Under the astonished gazes of those present, he slightly bowed in greeting. I respectfully bid farewell to a generation of demon emperors. Amidst countless bewildered stares, Su Bai boldly declared the death sentence for the Bat Demon Emperor. The latter was momentarily stunned before erupting in a thunderous laughter. Huh? Do you truly believe yourself a celestial being? A mere peak of the Four Symbols realm thinking to kill me? Ridiculous. As the laughter gradually faded, it was replaced by the Bat Demon Emperor's overwhelming murderous intent. The pressure of the Divine Heart Realm surged forth, causing the void to tremble and the earth to crack, as if a deity were wrathful, instilling fear in all. Can it be done? We shall see. Unfazed by the disbelief of his opponent, Su Bai merely shrugged before unsheathing the demon-suppressing sword. In the next moment, his aura shifted. Waves of sword energy continuously surged forth from his body. The pressure that had previously enveloped him was abruptly severed as the sword tip slowly rose. The Bat Demon Emperor distinctly felt as if it were being locked onto by some unseen force. Soul extermination, demon severance. Within his eyes, the fervor of battle surged, and the thrill of challenging a superior opponent propelled Su Bai to unleash his full power. With a hum, 2 sword silhouettes ascended behind him as his hand danced through the air. Spiritual energy erupted instantaneously, akin to a thunderous wrath, causing the heavens and earth to resonate with a deafening roar. The demon-suppressing sword traced across, and the void itself began to fracture. A sword energy that spanned several dozen feet instantly shot forth, nearly arriving before the Bat Demon Emperor in the blink of an eye. This strike was executed with such speed that even the Bat Demon Emperor, a being of the divine heart realm, found itself momentarily taken aback. Boom! The sound reverberated in everyone's ears like a thunderclap. The cross-shaped sword energy struck fiercely against the injured chest of the Bat Demon Emperor. After bracing itself against this blow, it sought to mock, but soon felt the sword energy linger at its wound, relentless and unyielding, burrowing deeper into its body. The agony of its soul, being torn apart, compelled its massive form to crash to the ground. I refuse to accept this. I shall not yield. The desperate howl echoed throughout the Beast Mountain range. The once mighty Bat Demon Emperor of the Divine Heart Realm ultimately met its demise. Chapter 16. The partner sister, the colossal body crashing to the ground, sent tremors through the forest. The surrounding beasts, sensing the Bat Demon Emperor's passing, wailed uncontrollably as if bereft of their backbone. The horrific scene before them left the members of the Corpse Demon sect in shock that a Demon Emperor of the Divine Heart Realm had fallen just like that. Retreat. Chen Lai, as the sect leader, was the first to regain his composure. Their sect was severely weakened, and the 10,000 Corpses formation was already in shambles, clearly not a match for Su Bai. In order to preserve themselves, they had to choose to withdraw as Grey Mist swirled. The practitioners of the Corpse Demon sect employed secret techniques to burrow underground and escape. Consequently, Su Bai chose not to pursue them. They were merely remnants of a defeated army, unworthy of his attention, as there were more pressing matters to address. His gaze turned toward the distant figure of the human-faced Spider King, who had yet to accept the death of the Bat Demon Emperor. After a series of twists and turns, the opponent had presented itself once again. Swift, with a hand gesture, Su Bai issued a command, and several spiritual energy flying swords rose behind him, descending to pin the fleeing human-faced Spider King firmly to the ground. Brother Su! At that moment, Zhulinger, sensing the crisis had passed, hurriedly approached. Her beautiful eyes brimmed with tender affection, and her admiration was palpable. With the strength to slay a being of the divine heart realm at the peak of the Four Symbols realm, she was eager to proclaim to the world that Su Bai was her beloved. This hall is quite substantial. Let us take our leave. Should you encounter any difficulties in the future, feel free to seek me at the Baiyun sect. Ruffling her hair, Su Bai displayed a gentle smile. Although reluctant to part, Zhulinger understood that their training had concluded and nodded obediently. After a brief moment of warmth, they chose to separate, deep within the Baiyun sect. In the depths of the demon-suppressing tower, heavy chains weighed upon the human-faced Spider King like a mountain. Despite its immense unwillingness, it dared not act out in the presence of the individual before it. Su Bai gazed quietly at the bronze door, a hint of coldness flickering in his eyes. Come, open, quickly, indulge, twist the heavens, invade humanity, the myriad realms like a mirror. Whether it was due to his ascendance to the peak of the Four Symbols realm or another reason, upon reaching this door, he could always hear the faintest whispers of temptation. The voices contained within gradually became ethereal, as if an invisible hand were gently pulling at Su Bai in a moment of distraction. His body moved uncontrollably closer. His fingertips brushed against the engravings on the bronze door. The icy sensation penetrated him like the chill of the ninth sky. Waves of dark, murky power seeped from the cracks of the door, swirling around Su Bai's hand like silken threads. His malevolent thoughts were magnified, and he found himself consumed by a singular desire to annihilate the entire Baiyun sect. Yet this thought lasted only an instant. As Su Bai's heart jolted, and an overwhelming sword intent erupted from within him, swiftly severing the murky power. This object possesses the ability to corrupt the heart. Staring at the dissipating aura in his hand, he couldn't help but feel a lingering dread. Had he hesitated even a moment longer, he might have succumbed to the malevolent thoughts within, potentially transforming into a machine of slaughter. Now that the Demon King responsible for guarding the tower had taken on the duty of protection, Su Bai naturally would not linger any longer. He turned and left the demon-suppressing tower. As soon as he exited the tower, he encountered the elder of the sect, Lu Ming. The elder had not anticipated seeing Su Bai there and was immediately filled with joy. Hastening to approach him, Su, you have arrived just in time. Next year marks the ranking selection of the four major sects in the southeastern part of the divine martial continent. With our sect leader unwell and unable to participate in the sect battle, the elders have unanimously decided to send you in his stead. What are your thoughts on this? Had Yang Jin not been gravely injured by the Blood Python King, Lu Ming would not have been so anxious. Hearing this, although somewhat sudden, Su Bai did not refuse that as an elder of the Baiyun sect, I shall certainly contribute my efforts. He nodded in agreement, but before he could finish, he was interrupted by a disciple responsible for guarding the mountain gate, who looked at him with a peculiar expression. Elder Su, there is a member of the Tian Shui sect, Zhulinger, requesting an audience outside the mountain gate. Upon hearing this, Su Bai was slightly taken aback. It had only been a short while since they parted. Why was Zhulinger seeking him out? With confusion, he bid farewell to Lu Ming and vanished like a wisp of cloud and mist. Youth is truly wonderful. Lu Ming couldn't help but chuckle, watching Su Bai's disappearing figure. Outside the Baiyun sect's mountain gate, Zhulinger paced anxiously back and forth. The moment Su Bai appeared, she rushed forward and seized his hand. Brother Su, I implore you to save my sister. She seems to have been invaded by evil spirits and is on the verge of losing her sanity. Without a moment's hesitation, she poured out her purpose for coming. Observing her anxious demeanor and the deep concern in her eyes, Su Bai understood the gravity of the situation. What does it mean to be invaded by evil spirits? He furrowed his brow, as he was unfamiliar with such matters. Just then, Lu Ming descended from the sky. Having already heard the details, he approached Su Bai and silently pointed toward the direction of the demon-suppressing tower. Inside the bronze door, a voice only audible to the two of them. A warning was issued to Su Bai regarding the bronze door. Su Bai's brows furrowed slightly. This was likely beyond his expectations. Without further ado, he employed the flowing cloud technique, propelling himself and Zhu Linger skyward. Outside the Tianshui sect, the surroundings, once a picturesque realm akin to a celestial abode, were now shrouded in an ominous cloud of black energy that eerily took on the semblance of a coiling dragon. The massive dragon head, seemingly imbued with a sentience of its own, fixated intently on the Tianshui sect, exuding an aura as if it were poised to engulf a whole, within 100-mile radius. All life was withering that Su Bai, who had just arrived with Zhu Linga, sensed an echo of the same energy circulating within the bronze door that as they made their way to Zhu Ling's sister's quarters. They encountered numerous Tianshui sect disciples collapsed on the ground, their faces contorted in agony. Upon entering a particular chamber, Su Bai beheld a woman of striking beauty and voluptuous figure, lying motionless upon the bed. His return revealed his sister, Zhu Qing'er, in this lamentable state. Tears welled in Zhu Ling's eyes as she leaned against Su Bai's shoulder, sobbing to Su Bai comforted the distressed maiden while noting that, although Zhu Qing'er's eyes were tightly shut, they were ensnared by a dark aura. Her strength barely at the mid-stage of the Four Symbols realm, that it was no wonder she struggled to resist. Time was of the essence, and he could not afford to linger. With a decisive gesture, he invoked the Earth Heart Flame technique. This power, steeped in extreme yin, could only be scorched by the celestial yang fire. Yet, to Su Bai's astonishment, the molten power from the depths was completely thwarted by the black energy, showing no sign of abating. Cough. Though I know not who you are, you must take Linger and flee. The evil spirit has begun to infiltrate my soul. Soon, I may succumb to madness. Despite its futility, the Earth Heart Flame technique did rouse Zhu Qing'er from her stupor. Upon awakening, she urged Su Bai to take Zhu Linger away, fearing she might harm her sister in a fit of madness. Chapter 17. The Evil Dragon and the Demon Suppression. As an elder sister, Zhu Qing'er naturally wished to protect her sibling from harm. Yet, how could Zhu Linger stand idly by as her sister suffered? With unwavering resolve, she grasped Zhu Qing'er's hand, refusing to leave her side. The bond of sisterhood stirred Su Bai's heart. Fear not, Miss Qing'er. This affliction is not insurmountable, that I can also ensure Linga's safety. But we must first confront this malevolent entity. Having chosen to assist Zhu Linga, he was determined not to retreat. Recalling the events at the bronze door, Su Bai concentrated his sword intent, cautiously approaching the black mist enveloping Zhu Qing'er. Indeed, this black fog, impervious even to the molten lava's heat, reacted distinctly when confronted with Su Bai's sword intent. However, it could not be entirely dispelled. The true culprit lay in the malevolent dragon hovering above, Drawing the demon suppression sword, Subai swung his arm forcefully. The window shattered, and a beam of sword light soared into the sky, expanding into a massive lunar radiance that struck the dragon fiercely. A pained roar resounded across the heavens as the colossal black mist entity was pierced through, a gaping hole left in its wake. Sunlight streamed through the fissure, illuminating the previously tormented face of Zhu Qing, which began to relax as she regained her senses. Yet, the injured malevolent dragon roared in fury, enveloping the Tianshui sect in a shroud of black mist as the entranced disciples sat in meditative postures. Channeling their energies, the next moment, a cerulean water curtain rose from the ground, completely encasing the sect and forming a vast protective dome that Subai continued his relentless assault with sword energy. Resembling a celestial swordsman descending to the mortal realm, targeting the dragon above. However, the sudden appearance of the water curtain effortlessly dissipated his lethal sword strikes, which should have been capable of vanquishing Four Symbols realm practitioners. This aura was not that of the malevolent spirit, causing Subai to furrow his brow. This technique is the Tianshui sect's unique skill, the water curtain heavenly radiance, when invoked by the combined strength of our disciples. It can nullify 90% of attacks. The remaining energy is shared by the casters. Thus, even a practitioner of the Divine Heart realm may struggle to breach it. Zhu Linger, anxiously observing the ascending water curtain, explained, "No one anticipated that the malevolent dragon could manipulate our entranced brethren to conjure the water curtain heavenly radiance, that if this persists, we may not rid ourselves of the black mist before our disciples perish from the strain. Heroes of the world come and go like fleeting shadows. Who would have thought that the Tianshui sect, ranked among the weakest of the southeastern four sects, yet standing for a millennium, possessed such an extraordinary technique?" While Zhu Linger was fraught with anxiety, Subai remained composed, even taking the opportunity to commend the Tianshui sect's unique skill. Indeed, the water curtain, fortified by the collective power of all disciples, boasted formidable defensive capabilities, not to mention the initial stages of the Divine Heart realm. Even in the mid-stage, breaching it would be no easy feat, but Subai had no intention of yielding. Since his return from the Beast Mountain range, he had longed to test the full extent of his growth, and now was the perfect opportunity. System panel. Before preparing, he needed to assess his current stats. Host, Subai realm. Four Symbols realm, great perfection, bone structure. 182 movement technique. 176 soul. 171 cultivated techniques. Qingming line technique, mastery. Qingfeng 13 swords, mastery. Flowing cloud technique, mastery. Soul reaping sword, great perfection. Corpse severing, great perfection. Demon severing, great perfection. Compared to the last time he accessed the system panel, his attributes now reflected a qualitative leap. The sword techniques he had previously comprehended had unknowingly reached the great perfection stage as well. Should he fight with all his might now, even a mid-stage practitioner of the Divine Heart realm would likely find it challenging to defeat him. Linger, do not worry. I shall attempt something. With the malevolent spirit serving as such an excellent sharpening stone, Subai was resolute in his decision to seize this opportunity. Drawing the demon suppression sword, the surrounding spiritual energy converged into a singularity as the lion-headed blade voraciously absorbed it. The sword intent rippled outward, emanating from Subai's feet as he stepped out of the courtyard, his sword aimed skyward. With a single swing, followed by a second and a third, 13 strands of sword energy surged forth. But this was merely the beginning. The soul-reaping, corpse-severing, and demon-severing swords were unleashed, their combined radiance coalescing into the Qingfeng 13 swords, striking the water curtain heavenly radiance with tremendous force. The reverberating boom echoed throughout the heavens, causing the water curtain to tremble perilously. Yet, despite the overwhelming display of power, this monumental assault failed to breach the water curtain. Ahaha, do not waste your effort. Do you truly believe everyone is a celestial swordsman? With your meager tricks, do you dare to challenge the defenses of the water curtain heavenly radiance? Better to wait patiently as I devour Zhu Qing's soul. With the water curtain remaining intact, the dark malevolent energy once again encroached upon Zhu Qing's consciousness, a wicked smile curling upon her exquisite features as she mocked Subai's ineptitude. Faced with Zhu Qing's derision, Subai's expression darkened. Indeed, he could not penetrate the water curtain heavenly radiance forged by the combined might of thousands, but he was far from out of options. Ding! Host S determination solidifies, unlocking the advancement requirements for the Qingfeng 13 swords. Congratulations, Host. The Qingfeng 13 swords have advanced to the mid-level mystical sword technique. Mastery of the demon suppression sword technique acquired. Just as Su Bai prepared to unleash his full potential and attempt a breakthrough, a mechanical voice echoed in his mind that a slight smile graced his lips. He had not anticipated that his golden finger could not only assist in his cultivation, but also elevate the rank of his techniques. With this revelation, he wasted no time and began circulating the Qingfeng 13 swords technique within him that a steady stream of sword intent coalesced around the demon suppression sword, its aura sharper than before. Dimming the very heavens, that I may indeed struggle to breach the water curtain heavenly radiance forged by the efforts of thousands. Yet, under the malevolent spirit's control, the water curtain has lost its inherent balance and harmony. Raising the sword tip slowly, Su Bai's voice was as frigid as ice, exuding an extraordinary sword intent. This sword, named Demon Suppression, with a resounding roar, the demon-suppressing sword in hand was swung forth. Its resplendent blade radiating a myriad of righteous energies that enveloped the heavens and the earth, merging seamlessly into the shimmering water curtain above. Did I end the next moment? The previously ferocious sword light astonishingly melded into the watery veil, defying the anticipated explosive sound, as it effortlessly penetrated the ethereal barrier like a gentle rain nourishing the parched earth. Chapter 18. The creation of the demon extermination sword array. Even the malevolent dragon in the sky could not fathom that this seemingly invincible water curtain was truly permeated by Su Bai. Furthermore, the brilliant sword light maintained its formidable momentum, ascending rapidly into the firmament. Unable to evade swiftly due to its massive form, it could only watch helplessly as the sword light pierced through its body. On the dark scales of the dragon, flickers of white light danced, reminiscent of crackling lightning, instilling terror. A searing sensation compelled the malevolent dragon to unleash a mournful wail. The dragon's roar that echoed from the heavens was akin to the wrath of ancient deities. The dragon's form was torn apart by the countless righteous energies of heaven and earth, large swathes of dark mist dissipating as if flesh and scales were being forcibly stripped away. Its enormous eyes fixated on the figure of Su Bai below, who appeared as an ethereal being clad in white. You little brat from the Baiyun sect, you have ruined my clan's plans, and I shall curse you. Do not presume that this matter ends here. I am merely the vanguard from the southeastern corner. Now that someone has opened the bronze gate, the malevolent beings within shall not spare you. They will undoubtedly seek revenge for me. I shall await your arrival in the underworld. With malevolent energy radiating from its form, the dragon could not withstand the cleansing force of righteousness, ultimately disintegrating into the cosmos. In its dying moments, the dragon cursed Su Bai, aiming to instill fear in the malevolent beings from the Bronze Gate, that they may eliminate the threat he posed. Malevolence is a force that has been eradicated by all since ancient times. The swordsman should charge forth without hesitation. How could he submit to your kind? Cultivators, too, contend with the heavens. They shall not cower, regardless of the outcome, only seeking to remain guiltless in their hearts, in the face of the malevolent dragon's curse. Su Bai remained unfazed, brandishing his sword high. His voice rang with the force of a tempest, a resounding cry that reverberated through the firmament. Boom! As his words echoed, the malevolent dragon erupted, countless specks of starlight scattering from its form. As sunlight once again illuminated the earth, under the might of the demon-suppressing sword, the blade shattered, transforming into an overwhelming righteous energy that cascaded upon the thousands of disciples of the Tianshui sect. The previously attached dark malevolent energy was, of course, eradicated, and the bamboo maiden, Zhu Qing'er, who had been manipulated by the dragon, plummeted from the sky. Su Bai deftly caught her as he landed, feeling the soft touch in his arms. His heart stirred as he looked down to see Zhu Qing'er's complexion pale, her breath faint, appearing utterly weakened. Fortunately, the malevolent energy had been dispelled, sparing her from any life-threatening danger, gently settling to the ground. Zhu Linger hurriedly approached. "Do not worry. Your sister is fine. She merely requires some time to recuperate." Seeing her concern-laden expression, Su Bai offered a gentle smile and handed Zhu Qing'er over to her, uttering words of comfort. This was indeed true. After all, the malevolent dragon had merely forcefully drained Zhu Qing'er of her spiritual energy without harming her fundamentally, so there was no need for excessive worry. Thank you, Brother Su. Feeling her sister's steady breathing in her arms, Zhu Ling's eyes glistened with tears as she expressed her gratitude in a trembling voice. However, a large hand ruffled her hair gently. There is no need for thanks between us, that Subai spoke softly, his gaze warm. The bond between them had long transcended that of mere acquaintances, thanks to the might of the demon-suppressing sword. The disciples of the Tianshui sect had finally regained their senses. Within half an hour, a group of elders hurriedly approached. After Zhu Linger briefly recounted the events that had transpired, tears streamed down the elders' faces as they fervently grasped Su Bai's hands. Thank you, Elder Su, for your timely assistance. Otherwise, our Tianshui sect would have surely faced dire consequences. Who could have imagined that the Baiyun sect would produce such a young talent as Elder Su? Truly, the future generations are formidable. From this day forth, our Tianshui sect shall forge a profound friendship with the Baiyun sect, and Elder Su shall forever be a revered guest of our Tianshui sect. Upon understanding the sequence of events, the elders of the Tianshui sect expressed their heartfelt gratitude to Su Bai. It is worth noting that under the influence of the malevolent energy, even their sect leader, Zhu Qing'er, had lost her sanity, let alone the elders whose strengths barely reached the initial stages of the Yuan Hai, or Four Symbols realms. Had it not been for Su Bai, the Tianshui sect would likely have been eradicated from this world. Beside them, Zhu Linger gazed at Su Bai, who was being lauded by the elders, her beautiful eyes filled with affection, her heart swelling with pride to have a man so exalted by all as her own. How could she not feel proud? As the day waned, and with the Tianshui sect elders' warm hospitality, Su Bai had no choice but to stay the night. That very evening, Zhu Linger stepped into his room, once more sharing in the ethereal embrace of the clouds. In the courtyard beneath the night sky, soft sighs and gentle melodies intertwined. The sounds of rustling leaves and chirping insects outside failed to quell the fiery passion shared by the two. The following day, after ensuring that Zhu Qing'er was out of danger, Su Bai decided to take his leave from the Tianshui sect, not forgetting to exchange meaningful glances with Zhu Linger before departing. Upon returning to Baiyun sect, he wasted no time in returning to the pavilion atop Daotian Peak. Through this ordeal, he came to a profound realization. With his current strength, he could not afford to be complacent. When facing the malevolent dragon, had it not been for the demon-suppressing sword, he would have likely expended considerable effort. Now back, he needed to diligently refine the four swords of exorcising souls. Slaying corpses, severing demons, and suppressing malevolence. Time flowed swiftly, and over half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Through extensive training, Su Bai developed a new understanding of his swordsmanship. Currently, he sat cross-legged in the sect square, surrounded by solemn elders of the Baiyun sect, whose spiritual energies converged to construct an immense array at the center. Su Bai gradually opened his eyes. With a light tap of his fingertip, for spirit swords materialized from the void. Their overwhelming sword aura surging upwards, filling the skies above Baiyun sect with their mighty presence. The formidable energies swirling around were such that even the grand array struggled to contain them. With a subtle gesture, the four spirit swords danced in the air before crashing down in an instant. The swords held by all disciples of Baiyun sect trembled in unison, as if responding to a master of myriad blades. Had Su Bai not intentionally restrained them, they would likely have flown from their grips. The four spirit swords surrounding Su Bai were none other than the exorcising souls and slaying demon swords. However, compared to before, their blades had solidified, and their tips now possessed the power to rend the very fabric of space. Return. With the operation of the grand array, the ambient spiritual energy converged, countless strands of sword intent rapidly coalescing around Su Bai. With a powerful shout, he summoned the four swords the next moment. The four swords swiftly converged, vanishing into the ground. But with just a thought, Su Bai could unleash their full might, transforming them into a formidable killing array. At last, success was achieved. After nearly a year, he had finally created a sword array that belonged to him. Let it be named the Demon Extermination Sword Array. Communicating with his thoughts, a smile of joy illuminated his face. During this period, he not only honed his swordsmanship, but also experimented with merging the four swords. Fortuitously, everything proceeded smoothly, culminating in the creation of this lethal sword array that, if fully activated, it could exterminate souls, expel malevolence, and annihilate the undead. Calculating the time, the sex selection competition was on the horizon, and Su Bai naturally needed to prepare before heading to the main city of Xingyu, located in the southeastern corner. Chapter 19. Are you asking for a slap in the face? In the southeastern corner, countless towns abound, yet only Xingyu City stands out, situated at the crossroads of the four major sects, making it one of the largest towns in the vicinity. However, that alone does not suffice to establish it as the representative for the sect selection. The primary reason lies with its former city lord, Zhou Yuan, known as the Pillar of the Southeast, who possesses the cultivation of the Divine Heart Realm. Thanks to this, although Xingyu City is not a sect, it has garnered the support of the four major sections now. Su Bai stood in the square of Xingyu City, where several colossal arenas had already been erected, and the venue for the sect competition was nearing completion. Today, he had come to observe. Little did he know that he would encounter familiar faces here. A group of individuals cloaked in gray and black approached, their expressions filled with curiosity. Yet the man at the forefront glared at Su Bai with animosity. "That Su Bai, you dare to appear at the sect competition? I must admire your audacity. But this is where it ends. This competition shall be your demise." The leader, seemingly unable to contain his fury, stepped forward and spoke with icy words. Upon hearing the familiar voice, Su Bai turned and was astonished to discover that the visitor was none other than Qin Shang, the young master of the Corpse Ghost sect, that he never expected to encounter him here, and could not help but marvel at the other's tenacity, that I in the face of mockery. He refrained from retorting, merely shaking his head and casting a glance at Qin Shang's lower body, a disdainful smile curling at the corners of his lips. Though he remained silent, Su Bai's gaze, coupled with his unspoken silence and the sardonic smile, was sufficient to convey that Qin Shang was merely a eunuch, and thus had no grounds to speak so arrogantly. Qin Shang, acutely aware of this implication, felt his eyes blaze with fury. His own manhood had been utterly destroyed by Su Bai, and now the latter dared to taunt him, inciting a tremor of rage throughout his being. The more he was provoked, the more Su Bai feigned indifference, as if they were not even on the same plane of existence. This blatant disregard infuriated the impetuous Qin Shang, who could no longer contain his anger, that he forcefully pushed aside Zhang Bai and the others, raising his hand as radiant energy surged forth, summoning 5 golden corpses of the Four Symbols realm, preparing to strike. "What? You intend to make a move? A mere eunuch like you is so brazen, perhaps out of fear of your own inability to produce heirs." Su Bai could not resist mocking him again upon witnessing the familiar golden corpses. At the same time, he realized that Qin Shang had somehow broken through to the early stage of the Four Symbols realm. Moreover, the aura emanating from him was distinctly different from that of ordinary cultivators, imbued with a hint of cold malevolence, reminiscent of demonic power. The more Su Bai provoked him, the closer Qin Shang came to losing his composure. Just as he was about to command the golden corpses to attack, a figure approached from the distance. Dressed in a black and red python robe, the middle-aged man exuded a formidable presence that he arrived beside Qin Shang and cast a cold glance at him. "Stand down. You wouldn't want to attract unwanted trouble, would you?" As the leader of the Black Rock sect, Lin Mo did not wish to provoke Zhou Yuan of St. Feather City because of Qin Shang. The latter's strength was formidable enough that he might sense otherworldly energies, making it impossible for Qin Shang to escape should things escalate. Qin Shang, fully aware of this, seethed with indignation, but ultimately chose to retract the golden corpses. "Be arrogant while you can. No matter what, you shall not leave St. Feather City." He spat out a venomous threat before opting for silence. Lin Mo had no intention of engaging further, casting a frosty glare at Su Bai. The atmosphere grew palpably awkward. Yet Su Bai remained unfazed. He sensed a demonic aura emanating from Lin Mo, nearly indistinguishable from that of Qin Shang, causing the demon-slaying sword array within him to stir uneasily. However, he chose to remain discreet, for this was the domain of Zhou Yuan, the city lord of St. Feather City, and it was not his place to intervene. Nonetheless, to be cautious, he discreetly infused a whisper of spiritual energy into the ground. "What? The sect competition hasn't even begun, and the atmosphere is already so tense." Just as the situation grew awkward, a crisp voice broke through. Turning to look, he saw Zhu Qing, the master of the Heavenly Water sect, accompanied by Zhu Ling, approaching him. Considering the circumstances, I suggest both of you refrain from any rash actions to avoid drawing the attention of the city lord. Zhou Yuan, Zhu Qing gently advised, her words seeming to favor Su Bai, enough that I can't be bothered to converse with them. Let us go. Seeing the two sisters, Su Bai dismissed the eunuch and the older man with a wave. Turning to leave, Zhu Linger hurried to keep pace, having not seen Su Bai in quite some time. Observing her sister's demeanor, Zhu Qing could only smile wryly in resignation that as night fell. The largest tavern in St. Feather City became the lodging for the four major sects, arranged by Zhou Yuan for those arriving from afar. The events of the day had little impact on Su Bai. However, this night would prove to be anything but ordinary that in the dead of night. Su Bai suddenly awoke, his eyes widening as he beheld the room enveloped in a swirling black mist. Within it, ominous faces flickered to life, appearing as though they possessed a will of their own. This unexpected presence of dark energy jolted Su Bai into full alertness. Without hesitation, he seized the demon-slaying sword resting nearby and cleaved at the mist. With a resounding crack, splinters flew as the chaotic sword energy surged forth like a tempest, swiftly shattering the dark vapor. The sharp force of the sword did not wane. It obliterated the windows, scattering into the night sky. The explosive sound resonated through the stillness of the night like the tolling of a great bell, awakening most of the travelers who had already succumbed to slumber. Upon sensing the lingering energy of the sword, they trembled uncontrollably, as if seated upon needles. With a leap, Su Bai emerged outside the tavern, where he beheld a golden corpse standing below, its hollow eyes fixed upon him, as if intent on devouring him whole. The familiarity of this sight darkened Su Bai's countenance that he wielded the demon-slaying sword, unleashing a brilliant arc of sword light. Boom! Such was the might of his strike. Yet the golden corpse merely raised a hand, absorbing the impact. Following what seemed like a command, it bypassed the tavern's walls and vanished into the night. Observing its retreat, Su Bai refrained from pursuing recklessly, instead unleashing another beam of sword light that sank into the ground. The tremendous clash drew the attention of Zhu Linger and Zhu Qing, who awakened from their slumber. Without a second thought, they soared out of the tavern, immediately spotting Su Bai standing firm. What transpired? Zhu Linger asked with concern, the recent upheaval still echoing in her mind. It's nothing that a surge of demonic energy manifested in my room, and the golden corpses of the corpse ghost sect appeared in the tavern courtyard. Su Bai explained softly, shaking his head that he had not anticipated Qianshang's audacity to attack him under the cover of night. St. Feather City is protected by Lord Zhou Yuan. The corpse ghost sect and the Black Rock sect would not dare to act too recklessly. Nonetheless, we must remain vigilant. Zhu Qing maintained her composure, analyzing the situation. Though the midnight ambush was deplorable, it did not significantly affect Su Bai. The following day, the sect competition commenced, with each faction displaying their prowess. The Heavenly Water sect, leveraging its water screen heavenly splendor, ensured Zhu Qing's victory. In contrast, Su Bai maintained a leisurely demeanor, clad in white, wielding a sword, and effortlessly suppressing the other three major sects without even exerting his full strength. The Black Rock sect and the Corpse Ghost sect received particular attention. Although he represented Yang Jian in the competition, he encountered no other sect leaders, making his victories appear effortless as he effortlessly cleaved through an incoming fireball and sent a disciple of the Black Rock sect flying from the arena. He glanced over to see Qianshang, his face darkened with anger, manipulating the 5 golden corpses to surround Su Bai from all directions, while the power of the golden corpses was diminished compared to their living selves. Their sheer numbers posed a challenge. Any typical peak cultivator of the Four Symbols realm would struggle against them, especially with Qianshang continuously disrupting their efforts. However, just because ordinary cultivators could not withstand such an onslaught did not mean Su Bai was helpless. Utilizing the flowing cloud movement technique, he deftly evaded the slashing claws of one golden corpse while bringing down the demon-slaying sword in a decisive arc rip. The once impenetrable golden corpse was cleaved in two, its green bodily fluid spilling forth, rendering it utterly useless. Yet, this was merely the beginning. Su Bai ducked beneath another claw aimed at him, seizing the wrist of a golden corpse behind him and hurling it forward, colliding it with the remaining 3 corpses rushing to attack. Crash! 2 more blades of sword energy, imbued with the intent to slay corpses, sliced through the 4 golden corpses, completely dismantling them. Chen Shang's heart quaked. While he recognized Su Bai's strength, he believed he had improved as well, and this overwhelming dominance should not have been the case. That is it strange. It should be. Walking slowly before Chen Shang, Su Bai wore a friendly smile as he spoke. Then, before the astonished gazes of the other sex, he plunged his sword through Chen Shang's ankle, rendering him incapable of further combat. Su Bai, I will kill you. I swear I will kill you. The intense pain forced the young master of the Corpse Ghost sect to wail helplessly. Su Bai paid no heed to his threats, shifting his gaze to the remaining sect members nearby. I surrendered. To Su Bai's surprise, Lin Mo, the master of the Black Rock sect, chose to concede. The others quickly followed suit, recognizing that apart from the Heavenly Water sect, all were wary of becoming Su Bai's next target. In an instant, only the Baiyun sect and the Heavenly Water sect remained in the arena. I concede. Aware that engaging would only lead to disaster, Zhu Qing gracefully chose to forfeit. Thus, the sect competition officially came to a close. Haha, this year truly sees a plethora of talented individuals. I declare the Baiyun sect the foremost sect of the southeast. The old city lord of Xingyu City, standing on the nearby observation platform, cheerfully approached to announce the results of the competition. Before the crowd could erupt in cheers, a sudden, crisp applause rang out. Not far away, the master of the Corpse Ghost sect, Chen Lai, and the master of the Black Rock Gate, Lin Mo, slowly ascended the stage. Su Bai gazed at Chen Lai, whose visage was shrouded in dark energy, unmistakably indicating the insidious corruption he bore. Chen Lai, Lin Mo, what is the meaning of your presence? The sect competition has concluded. Are you unable to accept defeat? The appearance of the two naturally incited the displeasure of the old city lord, who rose and coldly inquired. Simultaneously, the oppressive aura of a divine vessel realm cultivator surged forth. Yet Chen Lai and his companion remained unfazed. Before the pressure could fully descend, a thick black mist suddenly erupted, enveloping the two. Evil energy? This unexpected black fog sent a jolt of disbelief through Zhou Yuan, who had lived for over a century as a divine vessel realm practitioner, fully aware of what such phenomena represented. That moment. As if on cue, the anguished cries of millions of citizens within Xingyu City echoed through the skies. Zhou Yuan finally comprehended why the Corpse Ghost sect had established its stronghold near Xingyu City. It became evident that their aim was not merely to absorb the city's cultivation talents, but rather, they had long since pledged allegiance to the forces of evil, which explained their mastery over the art of corpse manipulation. The relentless wails filled the air, and the malevolent powers surged, feeding off the anguish of the surrounding populace. Growing ever stronger, Su Bai's expression turned frigid as the blade in his hand shimmered with a cold gleam. From the heavens, a verdant spiritual sword descended, piercing fiercely into the black mist. In an instant, the malevolent energy encircling Chen Lai and Lin Mo was obliterated, accompanied by wails reminiscent of tormented spirits. Yet, as the mist dissipated, the expressions of the members of the Corpse Ghost sect and Black Rock Gate remained unchanged, showing no sign of having been affected by the purging strike. The true instigator was none other than Zhang Bai, who stood at the forefront, his emaciated form covered in vast swathes of black and purple demonic patterns. Resembling a specter of vengeance, a glimmer of murderous intent flickered in his murky eyes as he fixed his gaze upon Su Bai. Kikik, did you never expect that a mere waste of the Yuan Hai realm could cause you such a headache? Zhang Bai sneered derisively at Su Bai, as if mocking an insignificant insect. From the very beginning, he had been the liaison between the Corpse Ghost sect and the Black Rock Gate, with no notion of defection. All to play a pivotal role at the critical moment. At this juncture, he had indeed succeeded. The provocation did not faze Su Bai. Instead, he raised his sword once more, aiming directly at Zhang Bai. The earlier purging strike had not been executed with full force, and it seemed this old man had underestimated him. On the road to the underworld, remember not to be so arrogant in your next life. His voice was frigid, and the purging sword energy surged forth like relentless waves. Before Zhang Bai could react, his vision inverted in an instant, followed by the horrifying sight of his own headless corpse collapsing to the ground. The entire sequence unfolded with such swiftness that Chen Lai and Lin Mo were unable to intervene in time. Zhang Bai had been the most adept at absorbing the power of evil among them. And now he lay slain by Su Bai. Realizing this, both Chen Lai and Lin Mo erupted in fury. Seize him. Lin Mo barked at the disciples of the Black Rock Gate behind him. Fixing a hostile gaze on Su Bai's two disciples clad in Black Rock Gate attire restrained a young man in a green robe. Zhou Yuan, seated in the stands, was instantly thrown into a state of panic. That was his only son, Zhou Zheng, the future lord of Xingyu City. Zhou Yuan, if you wish for your son's survival, you must kill this man. Otherwise, your only son shall meet a death without a burial place. Lin Mo threatened ominously, grasping Zhou Zheng's neck, his menace unmistakable.